Hello, am I live? Hello, am I live? Cool. Alright, man. Let's climb. Let's do some climbing. But where? How? Yeah, I lost the Master Yi game. What am I even gonna play, man? I'm too old for this shit. Getting too old for this shit. Can't play this shit anymore. Getting too old for this shit, man.
Nordafrikanischen und arabischen Staaten bereits seit
I'm not supposed to watch this. I'm paying for this. This is State Funnel TV channel. Me paying for this. I'm not supposed to watch this. I think this is like public, what do you call it? Public property or whatever. Because the public's paying for it. German public's paying for it. Like like me specifically, not okay. Me in specific, I'm not paying for it. Cause there's like other channels that do a lot of propaganda too. Unfortunately. But like I've been paying sometimes. What city is that though? Looks kind of lit. Or do we swap the champions? No, I'm done.
In carnage, I bloom
It's Jin time,
like
bro.
a flower in the
Jin
dawn.
time. Like we're playing Jin now. Until it's time to main the next champion again, huh? Espresso Marini Tsoki Hihi. Yeah, where's my yo, I'm banned off Twitch anyways. Fuck Twitch. Yeah, man. What are the other streaming platforms? Like the other streaming platforms exist because Twitch is banning people. What other streaming platforms is there? Mm, no, it's not that I don't like YouTube. I just don't see a lot of streaming happening on YouTube. 2026, dang. No, that's not what I meant. Do we go Ghost or what? I feel more confident with Ghost. No, streaming platform, that's not what I meant. Twitch alternatives is when you move on. Oh, that's a nice frack. You know, who else? Where else? What else? Where? Who? Where? When? When? What else? What else? Where else? Where else? Music? What was I gonna do, man? Too loud. Sometimes.
Our performance begins.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Why does my heart?
30 seconds
Probably
to
because you're not
minions
eating
spawn.
enough, man. You're skinny as fuck, man.
It's so
I'm
difficult
hungry.
to work under these conditions. My audience awaits.
Minions have spawned.
Every element must be in place. Art requires a certain cruelty. They call me mad. All artists are mad. Precious. Before the shot is painful.
Yeah, so bad.
Yes, the guns are better.
Yeah. Fuck, man. The fucking support changes are making this all those shit, man.
An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Why does my heart feel so bad?
Perfection isn't good enough.
Wow. Damn.
My critics are usually short-lived.
I'm a rich nigga, got some nail on my waist. Run up on me playing, I'ma aim it at your face. Ain't nothing for anybody. Anyway, hey, I'm a rich
sweet death.
Yeah, like I need bitches on that back. Talk when I talk, then they say I need some space. Whoop, 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 my new car. Whoop. I just take that up, now I'm running out of whoop. When I run that up, I'm all walking up, got all of these bitches shot. Hey, don't
The ecstasy of killing.
only young nigga is still flop. I got drinks by the two, no pop. Hey, baby, pay me to. Baby, pay me to.
I live for the applause. You will die for it.
Back, relax and talk mathematics. Later on, we test a little sex practice. Write my name on the wall. Money in the mattress, that she wanna get involved. She hop on the blunt, say with the hookah, y'all. I tell her pass back if
That
the
is
shit
it
too
too
strong.
strong.
It's
I
all
never
set.
hit anyone.
Rose are
It
on
is
the
the
block so wet.
performance
I got her where I wanna, and I ain't done yet. Looking at your picture, baby, put down the cigarette. Come hop on this cush jet. Take flight, yeah. Tell them bitches to fuck that. Do what I let them bet. I got them and they call back. So that
Could have done it though. Could have just one of them. She did beat this guy. The rest was close.
Ben Frank baddies in the Benz wagon. You know she wanna ride home, hop on the bandwagon. I got the chain sagging, get off the life
I will
lavish.
not suffer this
Lifestyles like
ugliness.
this, gon' need magnums. Pass, baby, welcome to rich class, baby. You all Maybelline, with your new Celine. All the Mars on lean, cars on sheen. Your white girl, but black girl, get the fly ting. It's verified, they ain't on your sea level. Water eyes don't cry, inhale with weed regular.
I must wait until the composition.
Winning, blinkingin', ring blingin', like for no reason. Let's get closer, close then. Remove your clothes, we close friends. Show smoking OG, Oakland, shout out Oakland. Yeah, baby, pay me to.
This comes only the moment carnage. I bloom like a flower in the dawn.
Oh, my bitch, that's my cool.
Did they see that?
Nigga, who is you to judge me? Yeah. Nigga, who is you to judge me? I know I ain't perfect, but someone love me.
Shit.
Back then she used to brush me off. She like me.
I was paid
She say, fat boy, they keep on rapping, it's time to change the game. And I swear to God, a nigga gon' die. He say your name is Van. Doing all these drugs, it's in my heart, I feel like Annie Kane. Big news say Chris pop that shit, we lit like lava now. Balenciaga, Gucci, Louis with the powder now. Why I sell that Saint Laurent, Ferragamo now. I'm so fly, I can fuck around and fuck your mama now. Nigga, who is you to judge me? I know I ain't perfect, but someone love me.
smiles and screams. I bring both.
All of my niggas know
An ally has been slain.
Click, we say it's time to run it up. We got a lot of fun for months, we made 100 bucks. And we got 100 guns, ain't no nigga gon' do none to us. Think I got my dick sucked up from about 100 clubs. Nigga, who is you to judge me?
Life has no meaning. Should and shall.
You niggas when shit was up. Yeah, all of my niggas know they can judge me.
This passion compels me. One. Three. It has only been gunfires that I have but I need that feeling. They will dance. They will sing.
Nigga, you bugging. You bugging. Rapping.
Until they stop me, I will keep going. The end is important in all things. Shall transcend.
I'll tell you feet again.
This was my place.
No, what is with people now? Fuck now. They don't even find nothing now.
Don't let me go, don't tell me no, don't tell me I can't. I had to climb the nigga off and wanna be feeding.
You better do that, bitch.
violent composition.
Damn. I'm not ulting that, man. Oh.
I wonder what they think when they see me.
I hate this
Ecstasy
shit, man.
of opening night.
Your turret has been destroyed.
I think we got chances because Ash left the lane. He doesn't know what. There's a ward there though.
An ally has been slain. Has been slain. Down.
Number prison love.
Shut down. Your turret has been destroyed.
Jesus Christ, man.
The world is cruel. It doesn't have to be ugly.
Ally has been slain.
This art is a compulsion. I cannot resist it. That delightful moment.
Alright, bro.
Turret has been destroyed.
I am a slave to this passion. They are puppets. I pull their strings.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Now that is what I want to see.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain.
Which is the
An
lie?
ally has been slain.
On my face. Breathe in the atmosphere. I envy silence because I must be loud. The trigger on a loaded weapon, it whispers for us to act. Final scene begins.
dickhead, man. I need a fucking ward. I need a ward, dude. Does he not have wards for that bush, dude? He had wards, man. I think I don't did him. I always warded that bush, man.
I provide catharsis for my clients and
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Nice dragon.
it's very simple. When I shoot, they dance. Smile. Everyone is watching.
It looks like it's a pink ward. It's been looking like that.
I am the lotus blossom. I am beauty.
He's AFK again, bro. Damn.
Shut down. Enemy killing spree. Has destroyed a turret.
Must exist beyond reason.
And still, I just stay down with the, I just stay down with the, I just stay down with the still, the still, the still, the still, the stay down with the, I stay down with the still. Yeah, it's a bit of a suck there, dude. They do something, man. Why are you just walking around, bro? Stop walking around. Do something, man. Play the fucking game, Tard.
I'm going to be so annoyed.
Whoops.
I live for the applause. You will die for it.
Ally has been slain.
You will learn what beauty truly is. Life has no meaning, but your death shall.
I just stay down with it. I just stay down with it. I just stay down with it.
Death should never be quick. It should be an option. without the euphoria of performance.
Fuck an owl, nigga.
Eventually.
I stay down with that. Dude. What I do?
It's your east side partner, Big Snoopy Dio. Turned like D-Lo, catch me on your TiVo. Yeah. Long Beach with me, the city in the turf chump. Get turf stumped, fucking with the turf pump. I'm geeked up, I'm on my tip hoe. Turn it up, bitch, what you here for? I'm going all in, that's what I do. My little niggas jerking, what's up with you? Little rapping ass, niggas tapping out. I'm
Behind
on
every
20
mask
years, the fuck you
is
rapping
another
about?
mask.
My niggas built up, the homies going big. I'm all in the club, 20 crib. You see a G, you better know the deal. You see the colors, fool? I'm in the streets for real. I'm kicking on these hoes, do them like domino. I slam them on their back.
You have slain an enemy.
Art shall blossom from your field.
See them coming, huh? That's what I heard them say. The 38, the same colors, the Chevrolet. 501 zone, gangsters looking good. I'm in the club, home, chucking up the hood. Through the West, boy, you see the shirt. Smoking on that coke, fucking with that perk. I gotta get her, man.
My
Baby
work
hella thick.
asks
She said her name was
questions.
Seven.
Now
Don't like a bitch, cause I'm a dog, homie. Yeah, I'm a nigga dad. Fuck what you call, folks. If I ain't hit the ass, I'm Snoopy Eagle Dub. I get it poppin', cuz. And when I'm in the building, they get to poppin' up. They get to spending cash, screaming T.I.U. Now go and turn it up. Lil' mama, look at you. I'm gigging on these hoes. Do them like domino. I slam them on their back and tell them bomb it
Where's
up.
the drama in that? With my technique, killing the demons into artwork.
Dog chillin', looking like a million. Yeah, nigga got it, I'ma leave it to the children. Tonight I'm on some other shit, and baby loving it. Hella fast, grip the ass like the oven mitt. I'm gooped up, boy, rich as fuck, boy. Like a
Sweet
break,
sadness
that's my
is
truck, boy.
killing.
I'm on my east side, shit I'm working. I got the party going, and it's jerking. My niggas all on, we rolling out thick. Folks getting in, you better pick a bitch. Cause when I shut it down, the party's over with. She called me Superman, I'm on my soldier shit. Boss dog, get him, sick of him, take him home. West Coast bitch, I'm on my fucking phone. I'm kicking on the snow, do them like domino. I slam them on their back and tell them.
ally has been slain.
Go! What the fish doing? What the fish doing, bro? What the fuck?
Shut down.
Okay.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
I am at my best only during the performance.
How this fish got ears though? It's, no, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, no,
You've awoken something deep inside me.
An ally has been slain.
well, I tried, man. I know, I kind of fucked up though, I know. I did, man.
Inhibitor has been destroyed. Has been destroyed.
Man, I wish I was there. Man, it's too bad I wish I was there. Man, I wish I was there.
An ally has been slain. A summoner has disconnected.
Damn, that's what the bad man. What? No. We're even better at Jin though. I feel like maybe, hopefully. What I did. Promoted to gold 4. Well, I'm used to being. Not gonna handle something, bro. Gold 4 is fine, bro.
More money, more problems.
My,
More
yes.
guns, more violence. I be the couple cases. I feel like done got it.
2014 in seiner Parlamentsfunktion aus. Besonders intensiv nach Marokko. Panzeri hat Beziehungen aufgebaut bis hinauf zum Alleinherrscher des strategisch wichtig gelegenen Landes an der Meerenge von Gibraltar in Sichtweite zu Europa. Ein Schlüsselland in der Migrationskrise. König Mohammed selbst verleiht Panzeri einen hohen Orden. Panzeris Verbindungsmann ist der marokkanische Diplomat Abderrahim Atmoun. Es gibt unbestätigte Gerüchte, dass Antonio Panzeri auf einer seiner Reisen auch Kontakt zu Mohamed Yassin Mansouri, dem Chef des marokkanischen Auslandsgeheimdienstes DGED, hat. Bestätigt allerdings ist, dass gleich 5 verschiedene Spionage des DGED.
Cokehead. Am I wrong? No, I don't think I am. He's a cokehead. How do I know that? I know other cokeheads. This guy not a cokehead. But what exactly is it? I don't know, man. I don't know what exactly it is. Maybe it's false. Maybe I'm wrong.
DGED hat.
I don't know what this guy is. I haven't even heard the story, but he looks like a, and he reminds me of someone who I know is a cokehead.
Bestätigt allerdings ist, dass gleich 5 verschiedene Spionageorganisationen beginnen, sich für die Aktivitäten von Antonio Panzeri und seines Brüsseler Netzwerks aus EU-Parlamentariern zu interessieren und dieses zu überwachen. Im Frühjahr 2022 schreibt einer dieser Spionagedienste eine offizielle Nachricht an den belgischen Geheimdienst VSSE. Der Stein kommt ins Rollen.
Der erste Hinweis kam von den Geheimdiensten. Und wir wissen, dass der belgische Geheimdienst einen Bericht verfasst hat. Das half, die Ermittlungen ins Rollen zu bringen.
Das ist eine heikle Arbeit, besonders wenn es um Geheimdienste geht. Denn viele Informationen sind unter Verschluss.
Im April 2022 beginnen Agenten der belgischen Staatssicherheit, abgekürzt VSSE, Antonio Panzeri und Personen seines Netzwerks geheimdienstlich zu überwachen. Die VSSE-Leute wollen herausfinden, warum sich Marokkos Regierung so sehr um Panzeri und Co. bemüht.
Noch bevor Panzeri wusste, dass gegen ihn ermittelt wurde, durchsuchten Agenten seine Wohnung, ohne etwas anzurühren.
Sie haben 700.000 in bar gefunden, aber sie hatten keine Befugnis, das Geld zu beschlagnahmen. Sie mussten es dalassen und den Fall an die Staatsanwälte übergeben.
Was die Geheimdienstagenten verblüfft, sie stoßen nicht nur auf Geschäfte mit Marokko, sondern auch auf mutmaßliche Deals mit Mauretanien und Kuwait. Aber ganz besonders häufig sind Kontakte zu einer weiteren Dynastie der arabischen Halbinsel, zu Katar. Panzeris Kontakt dort ist Ali bin Samik al-Mari, der damalige Chef des katarischen Menschenrechtskomitees. Panzeri kennt ihn aus der Zeit, als er selbst EU-Menschenrechtschef war. Eine humanistische Internationale, die sich jetzt bezahlt machen soll. In der EU-Botschaft Katars in Brüssel herrscht rege Geschäftigkeit. Al-Mari ist inzwischen Arbeitsminister und hat ein PR-Problem. Auf seinen Baustellen für die Fußball-Weltmeisterschaft sterben zu viele sklavenähnlich beschäftigte Arbeiter. Als die Kataris Panzeri und dessen Assistenten Francesco Giorgi in das nahegelegene Luxushotel Steigenberger bitten, hört der belgische Geheimdienst mit. Es ist Oktober 2022. Inzwischen hat die Bundesanwaltschaft die Ermittlungen übernommen.
Panzeri und Francesco Giorgi haben sich mit dem katarischen Arbeitsminister Al-Mari im Steigenberger Hotel getroffen, bevor Al-Mari eine wichtige Rede vor dem Unterausschuss für Menschenrechte halten sollte.
The thing is that, like, the hardest part was probably getting that guy. Like, that's the beauty of it, because that shit takes a long of studying. Like, you know how long it takes to get this coordination of the whole team to do exactly that? That last guy over there, he's like, yup. Yeah, I remember, man. We have practiced. Yeah, I'm doing it. Okay, man. Yeah, well played. And this guy, well, it's good that you did. This guy, yeah, I remember, man. I'm doing my job here. I'm doing it. And this guy is like, well, good that you did it. This guy, yeah, I remember. Yes, yes. Well done, dude. Dude, what do you mean remarkable self-discipline? This guy's life was not cared about. Like, he, he had to fend for himself to survive. What do you mean self-discipline, bro? It's not self-discipline. He was left to survive. That's not self-discipline. That's a normal behavior, bro. You're not gonna drown when you're in water, bro. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people actually can't swim. I don't know. But it was a metaphor. It was a metaphor, though. Even more shocking, he continues attending school every day, completing assignments, and maintaining good grades. Teachers described him as polite, quiet, and hardworking, never suspecting the reality of his home life. His story raised painful questions about how such hardship could go unnoticed for so long. It also revealed a level of resilience no child should ever need to develop. Is that the kid though? Is that the actual kid though? No, it goes longer, man. French fucking whatever wolves. French remake of Home Alone. How this could possibly get noticed for 2 years? Mother should be jailed for life. Tell that to my mom, dude. From original French article. The neighbors helped him a little, gave him food. They eventually alerted the police, astonished to discover the child was living without parents. At school, no one noticed anything. The officers dug deeper and finally discovered that, well, he didn't know he had rights. Like, before it was his mother, like when his mother doesn't like something, like she may kill him. So like he's not gonna talk bad about his mother. She may come back. So what he's gonna do, he's gonna fend there and survive for himself. He's not gonna talk smack about the mother. She may come back and kill him. What happened? Why didn't she bring the child? Yeah, man, it's hot out here, bro. It's hot out here. Dude. I can't even read. I can't even keep reading, man. It just sounds hella sad, man. It just sounds hella sad. Dude, that's literally me though. My mom had done the same, bro. She was leaving, bro. She wasn't even feeding me, bro. But she forced me to go to boxing so she could like be a whore, a prostitute. She couldn't even feed me still, man. Like, it's crazy, man. I don't know why he's saying that. He's saying that because you forgot to remind him that you may kill him if he does so. He was away, bitch. That's just sad, man. That's just sad, man. She was probably broke and needed, like, she felt like she needed. I mean, a single woman needs a man. Kind of does, maybe, I think. And a son needs a father. Like, why would he need the mother? Except for feeding him, obviously. But really, it's the guy's fault. It's the guy's fault. The guy knew there was a son there. It's the guy's fault. Officially, it can't be. And she stays with the guy, bruh. Like, I guess she, bruh. What the fuck, man? I bet it's alcohol again, bro. Bro, I'm tired of saying it, man. I feel like spreading propaganda myself at this point, bro. It's the worst fucking drug there is.
Breaking news on Jimmy Kimmel and
Might have to release the Epstein files.
Das Hurricane Melissa.
Wohnhausanlage in Flammen.
Den viele Diddy nennen, ist verurteilt worden.
Die Deutschen zum zweiten Mal in ihrer Geschichte Europameister.
Stromausfall. Im Stadtbild noch dieses Problem.
Das ist ein Denkmal der Dummheit.
Good night.
politisch geht das Jahr 2025 in Deutschland ganz schön turbulent los.
Geh nach Hause, wir brauchen dich nicht mehr.
Die Ampelregierung ist seit einigen Wochen Geschichte und wir sind mitten im Wahlkampf
Einige Wochen.
gespawnt. Fritze Merz steht in den Startlöchern und sorgt immer wieder für Gesprächsstoff. Im Bundestag wird Ende Januar erstmals ein Antrag mit AfD-Stimmen beschlossen. Eine von der Union vorgeschlagene Verschärfung der Migrationspolitik. Das sorgt für Proteste und Streit um die Brandmauer. Sogar Mutti meldet sich aus dem Ruhestand zurück, um dem Fritz die Leviten zu lesen.
Ich fand das doch eine Frage grundsätzlicher Bedeutung. Und deshalb habe ich gesagt, dass ich es falsch fand, dass er in dieser Woche jetzt oder in der letzten Woche davon abgewichen ist.
Im Februar wird dann endlich gewählt. Die Union bleibt unter dem selbstgesteckten Ziel von 30%.
Das war aber anders verabredet. Dieses Pult ist zu niedrig.
Merz wollte die AfD einst halbieren.
Aber anders verabredet. Dieses Pult ist zu niedrig.
Merz wollte
That was funny. That was a funny quote. Es war aber anders verabredet. Dieses Boot ist zu niedrig. Bro, the Pope is gonna be they're gonna lose the fucking votes. The elections because the table wasn't high enough.
Im Februar wird dann endlich gewählt. Die Union bleibt unter dem selbstgesteckten Ziel von 30%.
Das war aber anders verabredet. Dieses Pult ist zu niedrig.
Merz wollte die AfD einst halbieren. Im Vergleich zu 2021 kann sie sich allerdings verdoppeln.
Fritze Merz erzählt gern.
Im Vergleich zu 2021 kann sie sich allerdings verdoppeln.
Fritze Merz erzählt gern Thünkram.
Uns nimmt leider niemand mehr ernst. Und das hat J.D. Vance ganz deutlich gesagt.
Die FDP dagegen erlebt nach ihrer selbst ausgelösten offenen Feldschlacht eine Niederlage und fliegt mit 4,3% aus dem Bundestag.
Fehler in der Krisenkommunikation, fehlerhaft kommuniziert, mangelnde Kommunikation.
Für Wahrer Sagenknecht und das BSW haben gerade einmal 9.500 Stimmen für den Einzug ins Parlament gefehlt. Die sucht sie bis heute noch. Erst das ermöglicht die Große Koalition, die inzwischen gar nicht mehr so groß ist.
Der Abgeordnete Friedrich Merz hat die erforderliche Mehrheit von mindestens 316 Stimmen nicht erreicht.
Im Mai ist es offiziell. Friedrich Merz wird zum 10. Bundeskanzler der Bundesrepublik gewählt. Im zweiten Wahlgang. Nach 100 Tagen im Amt ist er allerdings unbeliebter als all seine Vorgänger.
Leitkultur bedeutet als allererstes zu fragen, ob man eine Antwort geben möchte.
Fritze Merz beginnt seine Regierungszeit erstmal mit dem Brechen eines Wahlversprechens. Plötzlich sieht er das mit den Schulden doch etwas lockerer. Die Schuldenbremse wird gelockert und ein Sondervermögen in Höhe von 500 Milliarden Euro möglich gemacht. Davon soll auch ein großer Teil in die Deutsche Bahn fließen. Für mehr Pünktlichkeit, Zuverlässigkeit und weniger Chaos auf den Schienen.
Nice.
Die Praxis sieht allerdings anders aus. Die Preise steigen. Nicht nur das Deutschlandticket wird teurer, auch Sitzplatzreservierungen für Familien kosten mehr. Die Verspätungen im Fernverkehr sind mal wieder auf einem neuen Höchststand. Um ihre Statistiken zu schönen, soll die Bahn sogar Züge ausfallen lassen, weil sie dann praktischerweise nicht als verspätet gelten. Der Spiegel will das aus internen Chats wissen, die ihm vorliegen. Die Bahn bestreitet das. Naja, wie auch immer. Als Trost für das Bahnchaos gibt's eine Werbekampagne mit Anke Engelke.
Deutsche Bahn.
Hoffentlich gibt's im Bordbistro wenigstens Matcha, das Trendgetränk des Jahres. Aber, oh mein Gott, 4 Euro für ein Glas? What? Wenn ihr euch das sparen und trotzdem was richtig Leckeres zwischendurch schlürfen wollt, dann gibt's nur eine richtige Antwort. Yes, Holy Iced Tea. Viele von euch haben safe schon ihre Neujahrsvorsätze aufgeschrieben. Falls da sowas hier draufsteht, haben wir gute News. Die lassen sich easy durch günstige, zuckerfreie Alternativen ersetzen. Holy Iced Tea hat viele verschiedene Geschmacksrichtungen. Ihr mixt das Pulver einfach mit ein bisschen Wasser und fertig ist euer günstiger, zuckerfreier Durstlöscher. Neben Iced Teas hat Holy auch super leckere Milkshakes oder Hydration Drinks fürs Training. Von Holy Energy wie von Energy Drinks generell raten wir ab. Die Starter-Sets für Hydration, Iced Tea und Milkshakes sind perfekt zum Probieren. Da sind jeweils 7 Sorten drin. Über diesen QR-Code oder den Link in der Beschreibung bekommt ihr mit dem Code SIMPLY 10% Rabatt auf eure gesamte Bestellung. So könnt ihr mit Holy perfekt ins neue Jahr starten und vielleicht schon mal einen Punkt von eurer Liste abhaken. Donald Trump ist schon wieder Präsident. Weil das Wetter nicht mitspielt, lässt er sich diesmal im Kapitol ins Amt einführen. Dazu hat er die wichtigsten Reptiloiden, Tech-Bros des Landes eingeladen, die ihm brav applaudieren.
Bei Amazon gibt's jetzt auch Labubus. Ich schenk dir auch einen, wenn du willst.
Seitdem läuft es noch chaotischer, als man es für seine zweite Amtszeit befürchtet hatte. Erstmal holt er sich den reichsten Mann der Welt an seine Seite. Elon Musk sollte derzeit ordentlich Ketamin nehmen, ein Pferdebetäubungsmittel. Er bestreitet das. Gleichzeitig benennt er eine
With the ketamine.
neu geschaffene US-Behörde nach einem Meme. Er bestreitet das. Gleichzeitig benennt er eine neu geschaffene US-Behörde nach einem Meme. Eigentlich will Musk als Leiter der Doge-Behörde die Kosten um $2 Billionen senken.
Yeah, like he didn't like where the state money was going, and Trump is like, yo man, I'm the president.
Die tatsächlichen Einsparungen bleiben am Ende überschaubar. Dafür holt er seinen Kleinen für eine Pressekonferenz ins Weiße Haus. Der vollständige
Zion Klein, he got like 15 of them, 25. Man. How many kids has he got? He making more, no? That's his name, yeah?
Der Name von ihm lautet übrigens, ja, keine Ahnung, wie man das ausspricht.
Yeah, what's his name? Why you name him like that, dude?
Aber er spricht endlich aus, was viele denken. In den USA
He did not do that. He did not do that. He did not do that. What the fuck just happened, bro? Did he just say that to the president? Dude. Imagine I was American. I'm trying to watch American news. They don't show you shit like that. Like, do Americans know about this shit? That this shit happened, bro? What the fuck is
Pressekonferenz
that?
ins Weiße Haus. Der vollständige Name von ihm lautet übrigens, ja.
They could have said the name, bro. They call him something. Like, it's something. Like, it's something written in another fucking type fucking thing. I guess why wouldn't he? But like, what's that? What's his name? Like, Kale. I think it's like Kale or something.
Keine Ahnung, wie man das ausspricht. Aber er spricht endlich aus, was viele
No
denken.
way that happened.
From one year to the next are the same, and they're
No, he did not do that. Dude, what the fuck? He actually did that though. Dude, he actually did that. That's crazy, man. How the dude, no way. Dude, Elon Musk was talking smack about Trump at home, dude. The kid heard it, and the kid was like, this guy the president? I'ma kick him. Bruh. No way that happened, bruh. No way that happened, bruh. I mean, it's not really important. It's a kid, but like, dude, what was Elon Musk saying at home about Trump for this to happen? And like, Elon Musk has many kids, and this guy is a favorite. Why? Well, here you know why. This guy is trying to be the favorite. This kid is trying to be the favorite of Elon Musk. I suppose there's one favorite kid. This kid's trying to be the favorite. And it's doing so by doing this, bro. He heard his father say something, and he just agrees, and he acts accordingly. Like when he sees Trump, he tells him to shut the fuck up. I want to shut your fucking mouth. Damn, that last word. He's like, am I actually like gonna be like confident enough to say this? And like, but he can't not say it. The sentence wouldn't make any sense anymore. Like, what else are you, like, you can't say something else now. You gotta, like, everyone will know what you were trying to say, even if you don't speak the last word. So then he, like, took a pause, and then he said the fucking last word too. Bro, that did not just happen, bro. Get sick, man. That is crazy.
Eine Pressekonferenz ausspricht. Aber er spricht endlich aus, was viele denken.
From one year to the next are the same. And
Damn. This okay, dude.
In den USA gehen dieses Jahr die Zölle erst rauf, dann wieder runter, dann wieder rauf. Das Schicksal ganzer Volkswirtschaften entscheidet sich nach der Willkür eines Mannes, der aber so tut, als hätte das alles ein volkswirtschaftliches Fundament dank dieser komplexen und wahnsinnig klug aussehenden Formel. Oder ist das wieder der Name von irgendeinem Sohn von Musk? Naja, die Schlagzeilen zu Trumps Amtshandlungen überschlagen sich und wir haben ehrlich gesagt selbst irgendwann den Überblick verloren. Er legt sich mit Harvard an, schickt die Nationalgarde in US-Städte, die von Demokraten regiert werden. Und er lässt im ganzen Land aggressive...
Yeah, he did try to take power with a military siege. Like, as dictators fucking do. But he doesn't want to admit it because it didn't work and it's embarrassing now.
ICE-Razzien durchführen. ICE ist die US-Einwanderungsbehörde. Dieses Video zeigt etwa...
Yeah, man. They did some dumb, stupid shit, man. Dude. Fuck the police, man. He actually tried to, like, take power by force. But it didn't work and it's embarrassing now.
Wie eine Studentin in Massachusetts wegen die US-Einwanderungsbehörde. Dieses Video zeigt etwa, wie eine Studentin in Massachusetts wegen Pro-Hamas-Vorwürfen von ICE-Beamten festgenommen wird. Bei Trumps neuen Tech-Bros ist die Stimmung hingegen blendend. Beim Dinner im Weißen Haus strotzt Herr Zuckerberg nur so vor Integrität und Selbstbewusstsein. Auf die Frage, wie viel Marky Boy in den nächsten Jahren in den USA investieren will, sagt er einfach mal mindestens 600 Milliarden. Ein paar Tage später erreicht die Milliarden. In den USA investieren will, sagt er einfach mal mindestens 600 Milliarden. Ein paar Tage später erreicht die politische Spannung und Spaltung in den USA ihren Höhepunkt. Ein tödliches Attentat auf den rechten Aktivisten und Trump-Unterstützer Charlie Kirk. Als sich Late-Night-Moderator Jimmy Kimmel zum Attentat äußert, geht das nicht gut für ihn aus. ABC setzt seine Show ab. Wenige Tage später rudert der Mutterkonzern Disney aber wieder zurück. Und während all das passiert, wabert eine Frage immer wieder durchs Netz.
Another random commented on my Instagram that you're on the Epstein list.
The Epstein list? Are we still talking about that?
Well, are you on the list or not? It's weird that whenever it comes up, you just tell everyone to relax.
Das Weiße Haus reagiert gelassen auf die South Park-Folge und sagt, Präsident Trump hat in nur 6 Monaten...
that South Park episode, I think. Who is South Park again? It's like she's a one actor, no? There's like actors like working on South Park too. And they took like LSD and they went to like some gala type shit one time. Bro. And they're like in news and politics. Like they take LSD and go to some Hollywood gala type shit, yeah? On LSD to like insult everyone there. And they're like literally their episodes are being viewed in news, like what they said and what people say about this episode. Like this is public media, like they're like, you know, damn, I can't even speak English. I know, man, my English is horrible. It's horrible, but why am I getting fucking jailed and punished and fucking kicked all the time for doing a bit of weed, man? These guys are doing LSD, going to some galas, and like, they're the fucking epitome of modern comedy.
Mehr Versprechen gehalten als jeder andere Präsident in der Geschichte unseres Landes. Und keine viertklassige Serie kann die Erfolgsgeschichte von Präsident Trump gefährden. Umfragewerte zeigen, Trump hat zwar eine stabile Basis, die weiterhin hinter ihm steht, doch die Mehrheit lehnt ihn ab. Ihren Unmut machen viele US-Bürger bei Massenprotesten im Land sichtbar. Und Trumps Antwort auf die Demonstrationen sagt alles. Boah, absoluter Fiebertraum. Nachdem Musk dem Weißen Haus den Rücken gekehrt hat, konzentriert er sich wieder auf seine interplanetaren Ambitionen. Er will noch immer zum Mars. Aber naja, das scheint noch etwas zu dauern.
This is the 4th explosion so far this year.
Eine chinesische Sonde ist dafür auf Hinweise gestoßen, dass es auf dem Mars einmal einen riesigen Ozean gegeben haben könnte. Und das ist nicht alles. Der Mars-Rover hat diesen besonderen Stein mit hübschen Leopardenflecken aufgesammelt. Er könnte der bisher beste Beleg für außerirdisches Leben sein. Auch das James-Webb-Teleskop schreibt Geschichte. Es entdeckt in diesem Jahr einen neuen Mond um den Uranus. Und wenn ihr hier ganz genau hinschaut, seht ihr sie. Die Raumkapsel von Blue Origin. Darin 6 Frauen mit sehr hoher Liquidität. Sie haben für die astrophysikalische Forschung und die gesamte Menschheit wirklich Bahnbrechendes geleistet. Sie waren ein paar Minuten im All. Die Szene, wie Katy Perry nach der Landung den Boden küsst, geht um die Welt. Wie viel der Spaß genau gekostet hat, ist nicht klar. Aber diese Art von Weltraumtourismus stößt nicht überall auf Begeisterung. Ein ehemaliger Raumfahrtchef warnt, jeder Raketenstart belastet das Klima. Und das in einer Zeit, in der der Klimawandel immer spürbarer wird.
No more rockets, man. Fuck rockets, bro. Fuck rockets. Like for now, until we get like better technology, maybe, man. Like when we need to leave the planet, I guess, bro. Fuck rockets, man. They leave. No, that today's rockets leave a whole lot of trash in the air, and it falls down at some point. Sometimes, or it's like crashing into each other too. Sometimes.
Vereinten Nationen warnen vor einem dramatischen Anstieg der Erderwärmung. Bis zum Ende des Jahrhunderts sei mit einer Erwärmung um 2,8 Grad zu rechnen.
Extreme Hitze, Brände, Dürren, Überschwemmungen. Laut Wissenschaftlern haben wir den ersten Kipppunkt erreicht. Tropische Korallenriffe seien kaum noch zu retten. In diesem Jahr sind zum ersten Mal seit Beginn der Messungen die Meeresströmung im Golf von Panama fast vollständig ausgefallen. Normalerweise sorgt diese Strömung dafür, dass nährstoffreiches Tiefenwasser an die Oberfläche gelangt. Durch den Ausfall ist das Wasser dieses Jahr deutlich wärmer als sonst geblieben. Die Folgen sind noch nicht absehbar. Währenddessen widmet sich das EU-Parlament wichtigeren Themen. Darf vegane Wurst Wurst heißen?
Damn, yeah. They was like discussing that shit in the parliament. Like if vegan, if there's like vegan, like meat alternatives, are they allowed to be named sausage, or are you not using the word sausage for vegan stuff? Like they was discussing that shit in the politics.
Nicht mehr lang.
I mean, yo man, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. If that's our problems, I suppose it's a good thing. Which I hope that is our problems.
Eine Wurst ist eine Wurst und eine Wurst ist nicht vegan.
Ich lasse mir nicht meinen Schnitzel wegnehmen.
Vegane Wurst, ich liebe das, in Volksfest essen. Vegane Wurst kann ich immer essen.
That's crazy.
Wem die Lust auf Wurst oder Schnitzel jetzt endgültig vergangen ist, der konnte sich 2025 wenigstens auf fangfrischen Fisch freuen. Ein aggressiver Wels sorgt im Sommer am Brombachsee für Angst und Schrecken. Aus den Untiefen des mittelfränkischen Gewässers greift er immer wieder Badegäste an. Schließlich rückt die Polizei an, zückt ihre Knarren und schießt auf das 2-Meter-Ungeheuer. Aber der Wels lässt sich nicht so leicht bezwingen. Am Ende ist es doch ein Angler, der ihn aus dem See zieht und erlegt. Und bei uns in Deutschland wird ja nichts verschwendet. Wenig später landet das Schreckensmonster auf der Speisekarte eines nahegelegenen Restaurants. Filetierter Terrorwels mit Beilage für 22,50.
Das ist ein Schmackofatz.
Und wir sind ganz ehrlich, bei der Aufzeichnung bezwingen.
Greift mal
25, wenigstens auf fangfrischen Fisch freuen. Ein aggressiver Wels sorgt im Sommer am Brombachsee für Angst und Schrecken. Aus den Untiefen des mittelfränkischen Gewässers greift er immer wieder Badegäste an.
No way, this fish was attacking swimmers.
Schließlich rückt die Polizei an, zückt ihre Knarren und schießt auf das 2-Meter-Ungeheuer. Aber der Wels lässt sich nicht so leicht bezwingen. Am Ende ist es doch ein Angler, der ihn...
And then it's a fisher, like it's a fisherman who gets the fish at the end. Like the police was like getting automatic weapons and all that shit. They were shooting the fish and couldn't get the fish dead. At the end, a fisherman like catches the fish.
Aus dem See zieht und erlegt. Und bei uns in Deutschland.
And they drove that fish to France, did they?
In Deutschland wird ja nichts verschwendet. Wenig später landet das
No,
Schreckensmonster
it's not France, it's Frankish.
auf der Speisekarte eines nahegelegenen Restaurants.
And then they ate the fish in a restaurant.
Fetierter Terrorwels mit Beilage für 22,5.
Dude, that fish was like attacking swimmers though. It may have been biting them, bro. That fish may have eaten humans. It's crazy. And then you eat the fish. It's kind of an attraction. Dude, you can't kill people. That's against the law, but that's as close as you can get, dude. Like that fish was attacking people and you get to eat the fish now. Like how much more powerful do you want to feel, dude? Like $22.50, bro? That's a good price for that one, I feel like.
Das ist ein Schmackofatz.
Und wir sind ganz ehrlich, bei der aufgeheizten Debatte um die Kandidatur von Frauke Brosius-Gersdorf ist uns auch fast ein Stück Wels im Hals stecken geblieben. Im Sommer wird die Juristin Kandidatin für die Wahl zur Richterin des Bundesverfassungsgerichts. Eigentlich hatten SPD und Union sie bereits intern abgesegnet. Doch dann tauchen aus rechten und konservativen Kreisen anonyme Vorwürfe auf. Sie sei eine ultralinke Juristin, befürworte Schwangerschaftsabbrüche bis zur Geburt und spreche Embryonen das Lebensrecht ab. Tatsächlich spricht sie sich für eine Legalisierung von Schwangerschaftsabbrüchen bis zur 12. Woche aus. Dennoch folgt eine hitzige Debatte, begleitet von unbegründeten Plagiatsvorwürfen. Dann mischt sich auch noch ein Erzbischof ein. Schließlich zieht Brosius-Gersdorf ihre Kandidatur zurück. Die SPD wirft der Union daraufhin vor, auf eine Kampagne hereingefallen zu sein. In Rom geht die Neubesetzung eines wichtigen Amtes deutlich smoother über die Bühne. Dort haben die Kardinäle nach dem Tod von Franziskus den neuen Papst Leo XVI. Gewählt. Er ist der erste US-amerikanische Papst. Er hat sich gegen die unmenschliche Behandlung von Migranten in den USA ausgesprochen. Laut dem Papst sei es die Pflicht von Christen, sich für Klimagerechtigkeit und Frieden einzusetzen. Und Frieden suchen wir in diesem Jahr vergeblich. Das Jahr 2025 war in vielen Teilen der Welt leider auch von Kriegen geprägt. Russlands Angriffskrieg auf die Ukraine hält weiter an. Ebenso wie die Konflikte im Sudan und im Jemen. In beiden Ländern leidet die Zivilbevölkerung unter Gewalt, Hunger und starken humanitären Krisen. Im Juni startet Israel mit Luftangriffen auf den Iran. Auch die USA greifen iranische Atomanlagen an. Es gibt widersprüchliche Angaben dazu, wie groß der Schaden an den Anlagen ist. Nach 2 Jahren Gaza-Krieg kommt es auf Druck von Donald Trump hin zu Verhandlungen in Ägypten. Grundlage ist sein 20-Punkte-Friedensplan. Im Oktober erklären die Hamas nach Zusicherungen der US-Regierung den Krieg offiziell für beendet. Sie unterzeichnen mit Israel die erste Phase des Plans. Daraufhin werden alle noch lebenden Geiseln freigelassen. Trotzdem bleibt die Lage in Gaza weiterhin angespannt. Der US-Präsident lässt sich aber schon mal ordentlich feiern und nominiert sich quasi selbst für den Friedensnobelpreis. Letztlich geht er dann aber doch an Maria Corina Machado aus Venezuela. Sie ist eine starke Stimme für Demokratie in ihrem Land und setzt sich unermüdlich für die demokratischen Rechte des venezolanischen Volkes ein.
And I'm calling to inform you that you will be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
I have no words. I am just, one person. I certainly do not deserve this.
Ende des Jahres werden an vielen europäischen Flughäfen und auch über dem deutschen Luftraum Drohnen gesichtet. Merz vermutet, dass Russland dahinter steckt. Und tatsächlich warnen auch die Geheimdienste. Deutschland stehe schon jetzt im Feuer. Der BND-Präsident geht noch einen Schritt weiter und sagt, dass Russland schon vor 2029 NATO-Gebiet angreifen könnte. Das löst neue Diskussionen über die Bundeswehr aus. Sie ist NATO-Gebiet angreift und sagt, dass Russland schon vor 2029 NATO-Gebiet angreifen könnte.
Russia attacking NATO territory before 2029. Well, are we gonna go into a war, are we? That'd be crazy, dude. That'd be crazy. I mean, there'll probably be upsides to it. Dude, a human is a warring kind. I don't think it's like not fun to be at war. And when you're dead, you're dead. You don't care if you're having fun or not. I guess war is fun. Most of the time, like sometimes. You make friends. And you either die or you become like a fucking hero. I mean, no, war is not good. You're not supposed to say this, but when you are in war, that's the reality. Like, Human is a warring kind.
Das löst neue Diskussionen über die Bundeswehr aus. Sie ist in einem schlechten Zustand. Marode Kasernen, schlechte Ausrüstung und zu wenig Soldaten. Während autoritäre Staaten weltweit militärisch aufrüsten, stehen Demokratien zunehmend unter Druck.
They didn't want me though. Like I literally applied, but I guess because of my police, police stuff, police papers, police history.
Eine handlungsfähige Bundeswehr ist laut Experten ein wichtiger Faktor für die nationale Sicherheit. Deshalb ist auch ein neuer Wehrdienst im Gespräch, um die Bundeswehr personell
They need people, that's what they're saying, bro. They don't want me though. Well, fuck them, bro. I was gonna smoke anyways. I was gonna smoke weed and do drugs and do cocaine anyways.
aufzustocken.
The thing is, they can't allow that shit in the army because the whole army is drinking hella. They're drinking their brains away. If you're drinking, you can't use drugs. Like if you don't have brain cells, you know how much effort and like constant and like discipline it takes to like get your life right while being a drug addict. It's a different thing. Not because drugs and shit. I mean, not because of that, but because of society. Like there's little to no role models about how to do this. Like most of the time you're being criticized and told you're sick and like you will go to hell just because you even touch the fucking drug. So you can't actually talk to people about it. You can't ask questions about it. You need to like you're on your own, really. Like getting your shit together and like trying to like, you know, it's hard. It's hard. Like no, it's not actually. Like for me it's not hard to like smoke weed, not smoke weed, like get my shit done, like survive while being a pothead. It's not that hard. Alright, I don't have a job right now, okay, but like what I'm trying to say is it's harder with alcohol. It's doable with alcohol though. It is doable, but it's a different thing. Alcohol takes a lot more experience and it's still like not good. I don't like alcohol that much. I'm also not very experienced with alcohol. Like other people, they know when to drink, how to drink. I don't. Like I'm trying to belong to this group of people. I'm trying to drink with them and I don't know how to drink though. Like barely know how to enjoy alcohol, especially without weed. I need weed. Dude, I always need weed, man. No, I can't always have weed, I suppose. It's gonna be a couple of weeks. I forgot to water my plants like today, I think. What are you gonna talk about? We gotta finish the video though. It's a cool video. If YouTube lets me, that is. They're gonna kick me out again. YouTube kicked me out before because there was like some stolen content supposedly, but I was watching Arte. I'm paying for Arte, bro. What? Whoa. Officially, I am. I don't water the plants, am I? I don't water them. Dude, I'm glad these people exist. I don't think they're like corrupt yet. These people are actually doing news just to have to do news. Like, them people told me we should legalize all drugs, and I agree.
Ab dem nächsten Jahr, also 2026, muss jeder 18-Jährige einen Fragebogen mit persönlichen Angaben ausfüllen. Wer sich darin bereit erklärt, den Wehrdienst zu leisten, wird zur Musterung eingeladen. Dort werden dann Qualifikation und Eignung gecheckt. Die Musterung bleibt 2026 freiwillig und wird ab 2027 dann verpflichtend. Für Frauen bleiben Musterung und Wehrdienst freiwillig. Wenn sich nicht genügend Freiwillige für die Bundeswehr finden, soll der Bundestag auch über die Einsetzung einer Bedarfswehrpflicht entscheiden können. Viele junge Menschen fühlen sich davon ziemlich überrollt. Erst die Corona-Pandemie, schlechte Aussichten auf Rente, Klimawandel und jetzt auch noch Wehrdienst und eventuell sogar Wehrpflicht.
Also es wird über uns entschieden, nicht mit uns. Und das muss man natürlich auch auf jeden Fall ändern.
Wenn mich das Los treffen würde, dann würde ich das zuerst als sehr große Einschränkung empfinden, weil ich direkt nach dem Abitur gerne studieren möchte und das wäre dann ja damit ausgeschlossen. Aber ich würde mich jetzt nicht dagegen wehren, sondern dann das Los akzeptieren.
Empfehlen Sie Ihrem Enkel Wehrdienst?
Wenn er mich danach fragen würde, ja. Aber das ist eine Diskussion, die ich in der Familie führe und nicht öffentlich. Aber das ist eine Diskussion, die ich in der Familie führe und nicht öffentlich.
2025 hat es aber zum Glück auch gute Nachrichten gegeben, die Mut machen. 60 Länder haben das UN-Abkommen zum Schutz der Hochsee unterschrieben. Es deckt mehr als 2/3 der Ozeane ab und soll Überfischung verhindern. Es tritt schon im Januar 2026 in Kraft. Laut UNO-Generalsekretär ein historischer Moment für den Schutz unserer Meere. Im ersten Halbjahr dieses Jahres haben wir weltweit erstmals mehr Strom aus erneuerbaren Energien als aus Kohle produziert. Und bevor er zu Erdöl wird, hat man in Argentinien die Fossilien eines bisher unbekannten Dinos entdeckt. Die EU-Kommission hat sowohl ein Medikament gegen Wochenbettdepression zugelassen, als auch eins, das die Alzheimer-Krankheit verlangsamen soll. Der Chemie-Nobelpreis ging in diesem Jahr an diese 3 Forscher. Sie haben sogenannte MOVs entwickelt. Winzige metallorganische Gerüstverbindungen, die enorme Mengen an Gasen oder Molekülen speichern können. Eine Art Hermines-Tasche der Chemie. MOVs könnten helfen, große Probleme zu lösen. Etwa schädliche Ewigkeitschemikalien wie PFAS aus dem Wasser zu trennen. In der Medizin ging der Nobelpreis an diese Immunforscher und Forscherinnen. Sie haben herausgefunden, wie unser Immunsystem daran gehindert wird, den eigenen Körper anzugreifen. Diese T-Zellen sind quasi Wächter und verhindern den Forscherin. Sie haben herausgefunden, wie unser Immunsystem daran gehindert wird, den eigenen Körper anzugreifen. Diese T-Zellen sind quasi Wächter und verhindern, dass andere Immunzellen den Körper schädigen. Die Forschungserkenntnisse ermöglichen die Entwicklung neuer Behandlungsmethoden, zum Beispiel gegen Krebs. Diese 3 Physiker wurden für ihre Entdeckung eines als unmöglich geltenden Stromkreises mit dem Nobelpreis ausgezeichnet. Sie haben damit wichtige Grundlagen für die Entwicklung von Quantencomputern geschaffen. Physiker wurden für ihre Entdeckungsmethoden, zum Beispiel gegen Krebs. Diese 3 Physiker wurden für ihre Entdeckung eines als unmöglich geltenden Stromkreises mit dem Nobelpreis ausgezeichnet. Sie haben damit wichtige Grundlagen für die Entwicklung von Quantencomputern geschaffen. Wer statt zu forschen dieses Jahr vom stundenlangen Anstehen für einen flauschigen Labubu erschöpft war, der konnte es sich danach gut auf dem Sofa gemütlich machen. Erinnert ihr euch noch an das hier?
Da, das ist ja schon ein Rauchzeichen. Und sie haben den Klappstuhl ausgegraben.
Achtung, nicht alt fühlen, aber der Film war vor 24 Jahren Kult. Dieses Jahr konnten die Fans die Fortsetzung von der Schuh des Manitou schauen. Eingestaubte Indianerkostüme und Witze inklusive. Im zweiten Teil reitet Michael Bulli Herbig die volle Nostalgiewelle.
So bin ich gesagt. Ja, aber gedacht. Weil du weißt, was ich denke. Ja, ich weiß mehr, was du denkst, wie du glaubst. Sag dir lieber nicht, was ich denke. Ja.
Die Rezensionen sind so, naja.
Geil.
Manche würden sagen, zum Glück hatten das Kino- und Streamingdienste dieses Jahr noch viel mehr zu bieten.
Chicken Jockey!
Ja, Mann, Minecraft-Movie, hell
Ich
yeah.
wünsche mir einen Freund.
Serien wie Adoleszenz oder K-Pop Demon Hunters brechen Streaming-Rekorde, während Stefan Raab mit RTL weiterhin um Relevanz kämpft. Die Haftbefehl-Doku Babo erzählt eindrücklich von seinem Aufstieg und Absturz und den bitteren Folgen seines Kokainkonsums. Heute lebt Hafti mit Frau und 2 Kindern in Dubai. Dort ist Drogenkonsum übrigens keine gute Idee. Wie ein deutscher
Ooh.
YouTuber aktuell aus erster Hand erfährt. Simon Desue
He's not a YouTuber anymore, dude.
sitzt offenbar wegen
Dude, no way he still got that move. No way. Like, how you... Like, no way he still got that move.
Drogenbesitz im Knast. Wer lieber auf YouTube unterwegs war, kam dieses Jahr hier voll auf seine Kosten. Es gab Drama und Beef. Und eine gigantische Lawine von AI-Slops hat alle Plattformen des Internets überrollt.
Check the fit, check the whip, pink Lambos.
Magnum Temptation Matt.
Your McChicken has arrived.
Zwei gehen manchmal gerne zusammen etwas trinken.
Sag voila! Das krasseste Wahrheitsspiel, das du je
You'll never catch me!
Für alle, die dieses Jahr lieber gezockt haben, gab es auch eine riesige Auswahl.
Yo, Leute! Was geht ab? Oh Gott, oh Gott, oh Gott!
Oh mein Gott, das sieht wieder schön aus.
Gänsehuhn.
Hoch mit dir, hoch. Bei mir wird nicht gestorben.
Was stand da gerade?
Gibt's da nichts, was ich irgendwie gegen den Arsch machen kann?
Nur auf GTA 6 müssen wir weiter warten. Natürlich. 2025 war auch für uns ein wirklich wildes Jahr. Anfang des Jahres haben wir für unseren neuen Podcast den damaligen Bundeskanzler und den Vizekanzler interviewt. Unser Team ist immer weiter gewachsen. Wir haben so viel Content produziert wie noch nie. Unser englischer Kanal Fern hat jetzt einfach 4 Millionen Subscriber und unfassbar ist Dauergast in den deutschen Podcast-Charts. Wir durften uns sogar Dauergast in den deutschen Podcast-Charts. Wir durften uns sogar über den ein oder anderen Preis freuen. Danke. Und mit unserem Hauptkanal haben wir finally mit unserer epischen Wilde Kerle-Pentalogie YouTube Deutschland gebrochen.
Alles ist gut, solange du wild bist.
Ich weiß nicht, ob Albert Einstein das gesagt hat. Lass mich bitte in Ruhe.
Bist du jetzt schon abgeholt?
Ich bin jetzt schon, ich liebe.
Two-Board Guys sind Sadisten. Ich glaube, die alleine sind verantwortlich mit diesen wilde Kerle-Videos für die Spaltung der Gesellschaft, die wir letzten Jahre erleben.
Wir wissen, dass die aktuellen Nachrichten oft eher wenig Freude bringen. Es ist völlig okay, wenn die derzeitige Weltlage ab und zu überfordernd wirkt. Das geht nicht nur dir so, uns auch. Euer Feedback, eure Kommentare und eure vielen Nachrichten motivieren uns immer wieder aufs Neue. Wir lesen so gut wie alles, auch wenn wir nicht vielen Nachrichten motivieren uns immer wieder aufs Neue. Wir lesen so gut wie alles, auch wenn wir nicht jede Nachricht beantworten können. Danke für euren... Wir lesen so gut wie alles, auch wenn wir nicht jede Nachricht beantworten können.
They say they're reading every message.
Danke für euren Support. Ohne
In 5 hours, it's like 1,500, probably more now. No way they're reading every message. He said they're reading every message.
Euch geht hier gar nichts.
Well, they did say they got a couple employees too, though.
Wir freuen uns auf 2026, auf viele neue Videos, spannende Projekte. Wir hoffen natürlich, dass ihr wieder mit dabei seid. Schreibt uns gerne in die Kommentare, welche Themen ihr gerne bei uns sehen würdet und was bei euch dieses Jahr so abging. Das gesamte Simply-Team, und es ist riesig inzwischen, wünscht euch und euren Liebsten einen guten Rutsch ins neue Jahr. Feiert gut und Cheers!
What are we doing? Are we rewatching this video? Are we? Alright, man.
There's literally nothing that Israel won't do in the name of vengeance and in the name of continuing Zionism. For some people, the takeaway is as long as they're not literally putting people in ovens, as long as they're not doing exactly what the Nazis did, that somehow that's okay. It's actually not okay. Never again doesn't mean never again in the exact same way that the Nazis did it. If that's your takeaway from the Holocaust, you really need to look at yourself and do some soul searching. I'm Jewish. I lost members of my family during the Holocaust, and the truth is, Israel does not represent me. Israel does not make me safer. In fact, it puts me and all Jews in greater danger, because as Israel commits these crimes against humanity and live streams them, and in some cases gleefully live streams them, we've seen soldiers doing this, Israel doing that and saying it's in the name of Jews That will create anti-Semitism. The idea that Israel represents all Jews is in itself an anti-Semitic idea. The dual loyalty trope says that all Jews are a monolith and we're all loyal to Israel and we can't be trusted to be loyal to other governments, regardless of where we live. That is really what Israel is leaning into. And you have anti-Semites and then the government of Israel, AIPAC and the ADL, all making the same argument, which I think really shows you the dangers and the inherent anti-Semitism of Zionism. People like to claim that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitic. Well, it's actually not, given that you literally have more Christian Zionists in the world than you have Jewish Zionists. This particular Christian form of Zionism wants Jews to go back to Israel so we can provoke the end times, Armageddon. All Jews except a very lucky 400 who accept Christ as their Lord and Savior burn for all of eternity. So these are the allies. All these cancel culture warriors who talk about right-wingers being canceled are very silent, interestingly enough, when it comes to critics of Israel, who are probably the most canceled people of all. If you're a Palestinian critic of Israel, you're very, very, very canceled. If you're a Jewish critic of Israel, you're less canceled, but you're still canceled. You're just canceled as a self-loathing Jew as opposed to an anti-Semite, which is a significant difference. I mean, I was fired by a network for saying that Israel is an apartheid state, so my being Jewish didn't really protect me. And of course, there's a huge bias in the way that corporate media reports on Israel-Palestine. They're very clear when Russia does something. Russia bombs, Russia strikes, Russia kills. When it's Israel, it's often Palestinians killed in attack, Palestinians dead after bombing. We even know that networks and outlets instruct their writers and reporters not to use certain words like genocide, not even to use the word Palestine. In fact, the reporting by the New York Times on the alleged mass rape used by Hamas was so bad that they had to cancel a podcast that they were going to do about it because there was so little to back it up. Now, on the other hand, you have to use the word Palestine. In fact, the reporting by the New York Times on the alleged mass rape used by Hamas was so bad.
Alleged mass rape used by Hamas. A rape used by Hamas. What, these women have been raped or what? So, was so bad that they had to cancel a podcast that they were going to do.
That they had to cancel a podcast that they were going to do about it because there was so little to back it up. Now, on the other hand, and you have countless stories and allegations of Israelis raping Palestinians.
And those are not supposed to come out. Like, they're producing the news that they want, but there's news that they don't want, and they are out. What German news TV channel told me about that rape? They was all in Israel. They was being fed by Israel. They were drinking coffee with Netanyahu and sleeping with Netanyahu's fucking daughter or whatever. Who the fuck knows? They were fed by Israel. They was sleeping in Israel. Dude, say one wrong word, you're dead. What do you think I'm gonna report? Israel is an angel.
That got totally ignored. It's really fascinating that we hear time and time again about the 40 beheaded Israeli babies, even though there was no evidence of that. And we do have evidence of actually beheaded babies, children with their heads blown off. I mean, we saw a child literally shredded. Various representatives of the Israeli government are never asked about that. They're never asked to condemn Israel's violence. They're never asked to condemn Israel's terrorism. There was a doctor who was tortured to death. If you don't already feel disturbed by there was a doctor who was tortured to death. If you don't already feel disturbed by the images of Palestinians or the stories of Palestinians, the story of Hind Rajab, who was left in a car to die when she was begging for help, and Israeli soldiers shot up the car and shot up the ambulance trying to rescue this girl. If that doesn't haunt you, I would really urge you to imagine this happening to a Jewish child during the Holocaust. I think that Jews should understand this, if anything, more than other people, because of our history of being targeted, of being otherized, of being compared to vermin, of attempted extermination, of genocide and ethnic cleansing.
Dude, what's Israel got to do with Judaism though?
And of the world looking the other way. That is something that we have to remember. That happened to us. We can't let that happen to other people. That's not justice. That's not how we honor those killed in the Holocaust. Everything that Israel tells you about its founding, about its history, and about its role today is a lie. Some people think, oh, Israel was founded for Holocaust survivors, and then it got greedy and took over too much land.
Israel was founded before Holocaust. Well, maybe depends on how you define founded, but the idea was even before the Second World War. It was before Hitler, I think.
And ruined its founding mission, which was to be a safe haven for Jews. The truth is, it was founded on ethnic cleansing. It was not a utopia. I think it's really eye-opening to look at the actual language of early Zionists, because they were calling their banks colonial trusts. They were talking about how natives always resist colonists. In other words, it's not just critics of Zionism who describe Zionism as colonial, it was the Zionists themselves. Israeli society really had a lot of disdain for Holocaust survivors, so they did something very disgusting. They both weaponized the Holocaust to justify their extermination of Palestinians, and they mistreated Holocaust survivors. In fact, they even referred to them as sapon, which means soap in Hebrew. And that was because there was a myth that Nazis turned Jewish bodies into soap. It's not true, but that was a myth. And the important thing is that people thought that was true, and they thought it would be appropriate to call survivors by that name. Israel wanted to create a new Jew that was armed, that was working the land. They were ashamed of the Jews who were killed. They thought that they went to...
They were ashamed of the Jews who were killed. Like, only the rich people could afford that shipment to Israel before the Second World War. Like, leaving Nazi Germany, only the rich people could afford that. Nah, man, you don't leave for Israel, dude. Nah, it's the ones leaving is their fault. Because they left the others behind. And they gave the Nazis that okay. They gave them the okay. Like, okay, we're leaving. Okay, you're right, we're leaving. Okay. You're right, we are your problem, alright, man. We're leaving. Fuck it. But they left some behind, though. Bro. I'm not trying to blame Israel here, bro. I'm just trying to, like, get the puzzles together. How Israel came to be and what it is exactly. This video describes it pretty well, I feel like. Like, if you... Dude, there was gonna be the Holocaust. There was no other way around it. The war was ongoing. And there was people inside the country still who he had, like, blamed. Like, not these people directly, but he used the word. That word was Jew. And there was someone to blame, of course, for that war. Yes, someone was to blame. Someone was to blame for that war. Yes, man. I mean, blaming is a limitedly senseful concept. But there was someone to blame for that war, yes, but you can't blame all Jews. What would lead you to blame all Jews? If someone provoked you in the name of Jews, which happened, and then he started talking smack about Jews, and then the war started, and not everyone inside the country want that war to go well. Not everyone inside the country is on your, and not everyone inside your country is on your side. And people are dying. And people are starting to blame you for people dying. Go to the fucking church in any German fucking village type thing. There's war, there's dead people under the earth there a bit. Dude, they twist in their graves when they sense me walking by, bro. My forefathers fought on the other side. One of them did for sure. The other ones, I think the other ones were more like politicians type stuff. One of them went. Dude, these people are twisting in their graves. I mean, aren't they? Or it's just a joke to them, like, fucking man. I don't know. Like, they died in that war, a couple years later, a fucking born in the ex-Soviet Union guy walks by their grave, dude. I suppose I do, man. Rest in peace.
They're slaughtered like sheep. They were ashamed of Jews who were religious, Jews who were scholars, Jews who were...
What was I talking about? Hitler. There was gonna be a Holocaust. There was going to be a Holocaust, man. There was people starting to blame him for dead people. Not everyone wanted him to succeed in that war. Some people wanted him to lose the war and to die. To be blamed and trialed and die. Like he was fearing for his life. Of course he was gonna like blame some people, take their fucking belongings and sell them for the war machine. Of course he was gonna do that. Who did he sell it to? Israelis, most likely, man. Never. They kept talking throughout. The Nazis and the Zionists, they kept talking throughout. Of course Hitler's gonna talk with the Rothschild family. They're the richest family in the world. He was blaming them. Probably, yeah. But then he got some funding from them. And why else? They wouldn't do that for free, ship him over to Israel. It was funded by the Rothschild family until it wasn't. Also, the Jews had to pay themselves for that journey. And the Rothschild family was also funding it, but the Rothschild family, they didn't want to lose everything they had on it. So they shipped a couple over, made a couple like pay for the trip themselves, and whoever didn't want to pay and didn't want to come was a traitor and could get killed. They are at fault. The Zionists are at fault. They call them fucking traitors. They was like, fuck them, man. If they're not coming, fuck them. Like, we may die over here. We may die over here from the Palestinians. So if they're not coming here to help us, we'll fuck them. And good job, Nazis.
were also cosmopolitan. They really did, ironically, internalize a lot of anti-Semitism. There were Zionist bombings in the Middle East that were used to scare people into emigrating out of Iraq, out of Morocco, and into Israel.
They needed people there to legitimize the country. It's corrupt. Why was Israel favored like that? Because they were whites. Look at these people. Apparently this is about Morocco though, or Iraq. But these people look white to me, I don't know. People Jewish, huh?
That's how little they cared about Jewish people. They bombed synagogues in order to get people to leave the Middle East and go to Israel, where they would be mistreated, which is what happened to Mizrahi Jews. Some were basically put into camps. They rejected Yiddish, which was spoken by Eastern European and diasporic Jews, and they also rejected Arabic, which was spoken by Mizrahi Jews of the Middle East. Yiddish is an amazing language, and it's dying out, and the reason it's dying out is because Israel chose to create modern Hebrew, which no one spoke.
Why is the other language dying out then? Yiddish. Just because Israel said so. Like, Israel is enforcing their people to like speak some kind of language. To be like, you know, we are Israel. We're speaking our own language, we love our country, and we love our culture. And our culture is this invented language and this invented culture that we like call Judaism, but it's not actually Judaism, it's just pretend stuff.
And they had a lot of disdain for a lot of Jewish culture. So Israel has always been a racist project in many ways, against Palestinians, but even against Jews themselves. And it's been an anti-Semitic project as well. Not only is Judaism obviously much older than Zionism, but there was Christian Zionism from the very beginning, and that was fueled by anti-Semitism and the desire to get Jews out of Europe. Lord Balfour of the Balfour Declaration was a major anti-Semite. Zionism actually requires anti-Semitism to justify its existence. So for Zionists,
it's true, dude. Zionists actually requires anti-Semitism for its existence, because there's no reason to go to Zion if you're not oppressed. So you're saying the whole world hates us, we're against the whole world, but then they let October 7th happen and get funding and ask for funding. They've been doing that. They asked for funding. They've been asking Germany for funding. And then when Germany got some news from Double Down News from New York, they saw that video. They was like, yo, no more funding for Israel. Literally a day after this video, that news came out. We were stopped. And when it was said in the news, it wasn't said like how do you think it was said? Like, That's how it was said. It was said like, like, poor Israelis, like, we can't actually do that. Like, we shouldn't be doing that, but we did it. Poor Israelis. That's how it was fucking said.
they don't want to defeat anti-Semitism. They want to use it to strengthen the state of Israel. It's also true to remember that this is not a conflict
Even the comments was like that.
about religion or culture. Jews and Christians and Muslims lived in peace, in harmony in many areas of the Middle East for centuries. This is about power. This is about land. This goes back to resources. This goes back to the West wanting to have a foothold in the Middle East. This is not about religion. Jewish anti-Zionism has existed since Zionism. A lot of Jews opposed Zionism because they, I would say rightly, predicted it would create anti-Semitism.
A right of Jews oppose Zionism. Well, that's the Jews the Zionists killed. Bruh. The Zionists are anti-Semites, man. They call everyone else anti-Semite, though. Get them the fuck out of there.
There's a very rich radical history of Jewish internationalism during the Spanish Civil War, which many people see as the dry run for World War II, among all the international brigades, so all the volunteers who left their countries to fight in a war against fascism, the most common language spoken was Yiddish, which speaks to this tradition. If against international brigades, so all the volunteers who left their countries to fight in a war against fascism, the most common language spoken was Yiddish, which speaks to this tradition. If we look at so many struggles like the civil rights.
My great-grandfather, who was in jail, he was a Ukrainian Jew who was in the war. He wasn't in jail. I don't think he was in jail. I was in jail. My great-grandfather was in the war. He marched until Berlin. He had a motorbike apparently, but he left it in Berlin. Or like in Germany. Damn, I want to hear those stories, dude. I want to hear the stories of my great-grandfather, actually, dude. I want to hear those stories, dude. Dude, when my grandmother started fucking talking and like you know, reminiscing and like teaching me about our family stuff, I was bored. I used to be bored. Now it's kind of interesting. We had some people disappear into gulags, never heard of again. Some people was in the war. Rest in peace to the people in Gulag. I was thinking about the Gulag people, bro. That is worse fucking fates, man. That was worse fates to be suffered. My great-grandfather was a Ukrainian Jew. I guess he was, my grandmother said he was Ukrainian Jew. I guess he was born in Ukraine because my grandmother grew up in Minsk area in Siberia. His name was Zelensky. My great-grandfather name.
Movement in the United States, there were lots of Jews.
There's another Ukrainian Jew today, it's called similar.
Involved in that. Jewish people were overrepresented in that movement. If you look at South Africa, some of the most active anti-apartheid activists were Jewish. That's the tradition that I'm proud to be part of, not a tradition which weaponizes trauma, tragedy, and the Holocaust to kill more people. Israel is unsustainable. There's no coming back from this. Something new needs to be created. Jews can live side by side with Muslims and Christians in Palestine, just as they have for centuries. If coexistence is...
That's what, dude, she fucking said it. That's crazy, man. Yes, man. Get Israel out of there. Get that shit out. Get that shit going. Fuck that shit.
So impossible. And if anti-Semitism is so impossible to fight against, how is it that Jews live in Germany today? Germany was where anti-Semitism turned into the Holocaust, and yet somehow Jews are able to live in Germany in safety. But we're supposed to believe that they can't live in Palestine in safety? Palestine is not the country that created Adolf Hitler. Palestine is not the country that...
Palestine is not the country that asked Hitler for help against Palestine.
That created the Holocaust. The biggest threat to Jewish safety is not a free Palestine, it's Zionism. It's essential to challenge the lies and propaganda of mainstream media. You won't
What did I just say, man? What are the implications of that? Palestine is not the country asking Hitler for help. She said Palestine is not the country that produced Adolf Hitler. Palestine is not the country that asked Adolf Hitler for help against Palestine either. What did I just say, dude? It's incredible, bro. They do and say whatever they fuck they can, bro. Like, they would rather not survive and like fighting and acquiring more land. They'd rather die fighting for acquiring more land than like live somewhere peacefully and quietly. They're just soldiers. I don't know, they just want to fucking fight. They just want war for some reason. Palestine is not the country that asked Hitler for help. And they're saying though, we need Israel in Palestine. In Palestine, because of anti-Semitism, Jews are not safe anywhere else. Bro, I doubt it, man. I doubt that's the reason, homie. I think you're not even Jewish. You're just pretending to be Jewish.
Don't see videos like these in the mainstream media, which is why it's so important to support the work of Double Down News on Patreon, and if I do say so myself, the Katie Halper Show.
Yeah, I was missing out on the Katie Halper Show, man. Alright, man, maybe we tune in today again. Holocaust survivor absolutely demolishes IDF, I guess. Was it this guy? There was one rabbi type guy. He told me about the 3 O's.
I say this as
I don't think it was this guy though.
a Holocaust survivor, that the genocide in Gaza is not happening in my name and in our name. The way that the Israeli government is using the memory of the Holocaust in order to justify what they are doing to the Gazans is a complete insult to the memory of the Holocaust. It's an outrage. When I saw the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations putting on a yellow star, or stomach turning, somebody who had to wear a yellow star.
Yeah, that's fake, man. That's fake, man. Wearing the fucking yellow star. They got that shit, dude. That's the propaganda machine of Israel. They let October 7th happen and be like, Germany, yo, look, Holocaust here, yellow star, bro.
Like myself and my entire family, I'm insulted by that. What distinguishes the Jewish Holocaust is its industrial scale and industrial methods being applied. And what has been happening to Gaza is similar in that the scale of the bombing and the indiscriminate nature.
The thing is, just doing that is one thing, but then you also need to pay off the news channels to report on it the right way. Report on it. It was tears, it caused tears in everybody who saw it. Like, they put the yellow star on and everybody was so touched by it. That's how the news got reported. Not like, yo, this is a joke, right? Like, not as what it is.
The complete lack of care about children and women being the majority of the victims amounts to industrial scale of genocide. The painting of the Palestinian people as worthless, almost animal-like by the description of some of the leaders. That dehumanization enables the population of Israel to tolerate what's going on. The way that Palestinian people who were arrested were treated, having to take their clothes off and parading them, it's part of the humiliation. In the West Bank, the way the checkpoints are organized, the way that you are forced to wait for hours for no reason in order to go to school or go to work, etc. All this amounted to humiliation, similar to what we experienced. The sort of determination and consistency with which they are setting about to destroy the whole of Gaza is very similar to the kind of cruelty and determination of the fascist regimes, some of the actions of the Nazi state in dehumanizing and completely cruel large-scale killings, etc. If it is repeated, I don't see why you couldn't make the parallel. It can only be helpful in understanding what's going on to make the parallel. I don't think there should be any taboo against that. I think I particularly find painful to see the children, because I remember after the war, we played in the ruins like they do now, but particularly their losses, to suddenly lose parents and siblings and so on. There was a boy in the same rescue homes where I was. He was traveling on a tram with his parents. This boy moved to the front to stand behind the tram driver because he was interested in how he was working the levers and so on. At the next stop, an Arrow Cross raiding party came on and asked for papers. And the parents were identified as Jews and arrested straight away. The son was separated at the front, and they had to make an immediate decision whether to say something to him and involve him or let him perhaps escape the net. And that's what they decided. So they were taken down from the tram and sent to Auschwitz. They never said goodbye to their son, and they perished in Auschwitz. So that was the end of the family. Now, can you imagine the psychological state of that boy who suddenly found himself on his own in this way, not saying goodbye to his parents? And I think this kind of thing, this separation, and the sense of complete inability to intervene or in any way exert any kind of positive influence on events, this kind of separation and destruction of families in this manner is again something that repeats in Gaza now, I think. I heard that some families divide the children and leave some with one branch and some with the other, so that at least somebody should survive from the family. There's an echo of the same experience. What happened to the Jewish people, the gas chambers and the industrial scale of extermination, and also the sort of invisible aspects, the incredible emotional pain caused, is so horrendous taken together that it seems to me inconceivable that it should be repeated anywhere in the world. That is why we say not in our name and never again. And this is why I was so totally shocked, particularly by those who I know have gone through the same themselves, repeating it on another people. I take as an extreme example one of my cousins, a late cousin, she died some years ago, who was a young girl taken to Auschwitz from Transylvania. Because she was young and strong, she was put to work, and she worked in a warehouse sorting clothes. And one day, she was sorting her parents' clothes, meaning that they had already been taken to the gas chamber. I think it's difficult to understand the emotional experience of doing or being in that situation. Yet she came back.
Dude, you're already there. You're already in Auschwitz. You already know your parents have been killed. What do you care if there's their clothes in there or not? Dude, that's not your concern at that moment. It's a interesting story afterwards. Maybe you're not thinking about telling an interesting story in that moment. You're just happy to be alive still.
To Israel, and first to Romania and then Israel.
That's how police likes to make me feel. They like to see fear in humans' eyes. I feel like they like imposing power over people and like making people have to react and like to pay attention to them.
And she was as racist as the rest of them. Yet she came back to Israel, and first to Romania and then Israel, and she was as racist as the rest of them. Against the Palestinians. Now, how it's beyond understanding how you can do that, and with the background that she had. I think this is to do with the extreme.
Then again, bro, you live in a world where there's like the stronger one just gets to do whatever the fuck he wants, and you want to belong to the stronger one. Like in that moment, you're just happy to be alive. And when you do survive, you just wanna side with the stronger side to like for that to like never happen to you again. Like whoever gives you safety and security, like you're a Holocaust survivor, you're safe and secure here, dude. You're being holified. You're being viewed as a holy person here. So yeah, I'm gonna go there. I suppose they did like invite some Jews, some Jewish people. And then they made them nationalists.
Propaganda and the dehumanization. Zionism was a very unfortunate and sad development for the Jewish people. It broke a much longer tradition of always being on the side of the oppressed, not the oppressor, and the charitable nature of the Judaism and the humanity that they advocate, into a kind of exceptionalism and nationalism.
Everything is the Jews. Not a single piece for other people, only for us.
And in practical terms, impossible project of taking over another people's country, which led to all the troubles that followed. Also, I agree with my cousin, late cousin, a very bright guy, who said, well, if we claim that there is a people who tend to be the victims of other people's discrimination, etc., then the last thing you want to do is to collect them up into one place as a target. And I think he was right, and I think current events prove it. Zionism started to proclaim that the only safe place for Jews is in Israel, and what we are seeing today is the worst, the most dangerous place for Jews is Israel. Quite a number of my family from Romania ended up in Israel. So when I visited them, that was my first brush with Zionism, I was completely shocked how, despite their experiences during the Holocaust, they were racist, basically, against the Palestinians, and couldn't understand it. And I can't understand it to this day fully, how that could happen. But they were. There's no denying it. And I found that atmosphere of racism was prevailing generally in Israel. And I turned strongly against that. Later on, I saw the repeated brutality of action against Palestinians, and it became more and more horrifying, and the very cruel attack on Gaza was the ultimate. And the use of the Holocaust background
What was that?
was the ultimate. And
This guy's smiling, no?
the
Is this... Oh, what the fuck is
use of the Holocaust background as a cover for all this was just unbearable. I mean, it was criminal, I felt. And this is when I became more active in trying to protest. Today's marches are having a very hopeful aspect. It is so large, so persistent, so global, that eventually the Western leadership, which are trying to deny what is actually going on, will be forced to face up to it. And I think we are not far from that. There was no parallel to that in the Jewish Holocaust experience. In fact, there was great abandonment. There were some, very few, very brave people who risked.
Yo, man, these people was like, to be happy to be alive still. And when they got like a cigarette from the guard, they was happy. And the guard was happy because he felt like he made someone happy. Like, I don't even know, man. But like, they was happy to get a cigarette, man. And that's how the police act towards me, man. Yo, be happy when we give you a cigarette. Yo, man, shut the fuck up. You ain't getting shit. And when you are getting shit, you're to be happy.
Everything to be on the right side of history and to rescue as
Why even get in here, dude? Who asked for them here?
As much as possible. But
my mother did, I suppose.
The majority of people were too afraid and looked the other way. I find it completely incomprehensible, really, how you can do anything.
Dude, those houses wasn't emptied, man. Like, was they? I don't know. Maybe they was emptied. And I hope those houses was emptied. Like, the Israelis went from house to house, though. Apparently. Obviously, they took a hookah from somewhere. Like, enjoy the hookah. Why the fuck not? If you're bombing, I guess, man. Why are they bombing the houses? Because they wanted to acquire that land. Didn't they? They went from house to house, stole women's underwear, put it on, stole people's stuff, took it home. Like, there was no more funding for the IDF. IDF. Israel's Defense Force, IDF. And then October 7th happened. And then there was funding. And the IDF gets to take other people's women's underwear. Other people's women's, because the women is being owned by other people, and the underwear is being owned by the women. So you're taking other people's women's underwear. You get to take, like, there was no more funding for the IDF. They let October 7th happen, and now the IDF gets to steal other people's women's underwear.
But totally condemn quite clear genocide.
This is all genocide, is it? Because why would they go from house to house and collect other people's stuff? Man, I hope this hooker is telling me they was in that house and took...
I find it completely incomprehensible, really, how you can.
Man, I hope this hooker is telling me they was in those houses and emptied them. And I pray to God that's what happens. And they're not flexing on killing people. Like, that's what's fucking... That's what's, like, what do you call them? Like, horrible people, like, tyranny. That's tyranny. Like, killing someone and filming yourself enjoying it. I hope they're not killing people in these videos. I really hope so, dude. I really hope that's what... And I hope this hooker is telling me they was in those houses and
do anything but totally.
Like, alright, man, take the hooker, bomb the house, bro. I'm glad you did that one, actually. I hope you did that, and only that.
Condemn quite clear genocide, and anybody who doesn't do that, it will be revisited on him or her to look back on, to be on the wrong side of history and seriously guilty. And that goes for the UK government, to Keir Starmer and the shadow cabinet, and some of the church leaders. The chief rabbi completely identifies with it.
Not even that, man. You're not supposed to, like, bomb other people's houses, but I guess if you're using arguments like October 7th, I suppose you could. But I don't think that's the whole story. I fear it's not.
Israel and Zionism. I think it's important to stand up against this conflation that is propagated between Jewishness and Zionism. If you do not stand up and criticize it and divorce yourself from it, then it sort of besmirches all Jews, basically. And
This doesn't come through in the normal news media. Like all this stuff, like watching this video a second time months after, a lot of stuff makes more sense what he just said. Like they was blocking the news, they was making the news in a certain way, and none of what is actually going on is visible, except New York voted for Mamdani. Yes, that's the only sign I get of like, yo, like we're not all in on this, but the news won't even tell you that, or will they? Barely.
And I think.
But the New Yorkers noticed apparently now, because they voted Mamdani on purpose. Like who the fuck? Like I doubt he was voted because he's like the best fit. There's no best fit. It's a symbol.
It's essential to show that from a point of view of the morale of the people that is being victimized in the name of the Jewish people, that this is not supported universally by Jewish people at all, but it's simply the Zionist and Israeli establishment which does it, which are not too far from fascistic attitudes. I think fascism thrives on indifference and the general public being intimidated or looking the other way out of self-preservation and comfort. And it's essential that is not practiced, that a certain degree of risk even taken, and always making a stand against injustice. The time will come when history will judge these events. If you are just indifferent, if you do not take a stand, you acquire a degree of guilt without any doubt. And
if you do not take a stand, you acquire. Well, what does that do? If you don't, what is gonna happen if you all just don't give a fuck about righteousness and justice? What's gonna happen? We're all gonna die, bro. There's only one monkey gonna survive, and that monkey is just by chance the one who's holding the weapon at the moment.
It's important that when that judgment comes, you are found to be on the right side of history, that you had not been, for sake of comfort and advancement or whatever, you had not been inactive. You have to assert yourself against the evils around you. Knowing how the mass media ignores the most important.
Yeah, because if we allow evil to exist and we allow it as a competition type thing, everyone's gonna do it, isn't it? And there's gonna be no more things that you're gonna miss when there's war. But even in war, there's justice, though. So sometimes.
Events. It makes it incredibly important to have forums like Double Down News to bring a much more balanced picture to the public. Join the future of journalism, join Double Down News on Patreon.
All right, Katie Halper, what do you got for me? Damn, we got views of think the episode with Katie Hopper on Double Down News was written by someone else too, mostly. Which ones are we watching now? Yeah, tell me what the media won't tell me.
We'll start with Russia and Ukraine. Where are we in that conflict?
At the ether level, Russia has won, NATO has lost, but doesn't acknowledge it or want to admit it. The United States is backing away from the whole thing. We are picking over the bones of what is literally a dead Ukraine right now, we being Moscow and Washington, so that Donald Trump can reestablish a meaningful relationship with Russia. And everything else right now is roughly inconsequential except to the people who are actually doing it. And one of the new things I discovered is that Starmer, Merz, and Macron, others too probably, but these three, the leading powers in Europe. Now, I didn't say NATO because Turkey is in NATO too, but that's not one of the powers I wish to refer to when I say NATO, because I think they're going to leave and unanchor the southern flank of NATO when they do so. Be a disaster, but for NATO. But what they're doing, I think, is what this particular paper that just came out from one of the lords in the House in Britain that essentially says what Merz, Starmer, and Macron are trying to do is use the 5% that they are now asking of their people to donate to defense to rebuild their economies, because their economies are collapsing, particularly Germany's. And yesterday we learned that the CEO of Rheinmetall, which is a very, very resplendent name in the history of German armament, all the way back to you-know-who, that it is leading the fray in this and has aspirations to even equal or surpass Lockheed Martin, the leading death merchant in the world. All to say, it's over. The Europeans don't know how to admit it's over, and they are going to use this threat and milk it as much as they possibly can, because that's the only way they can explain to their restive publics, whose economies are collapsing all around them, as to why they're giving even more money to defense. And they need a threat, and they need a viable, big bugaboo threat in their face. They're making Russia that threat. EU's helping them so that they can get this money.
And describe this
Who
threat.
can? Rheinmetall. Is he talking about Rheinmetall?
That you're
They milk it as much as they could. Economies are collapsing, particularly Germany's. And yesterday we learned that the CEO of Rheinmetall, which is a very, very resplendent name in the history of German armament, all the way back to you-know-who, that it is leading the fray in this and has aspirations to even equal or surpass Lockheed Martin, the leading death merchant in the world. All to say, it's over. The Europeans don't know how to admit it's over.
Dude, what do you mean? What is Rheinmetall wanting to produce more weapons and like throwing fire into the pit of like villainizing Russia? How does that got to do with it's over? It doesn't make sense. How does he jump to it's over?
Hey, or surpass Lockheed Martin, the leading death merchant in the world. All to say, it's over. The Europeans don't know how to admit it's over, and they are going to use this threat and milk it as much as they possibly can, because that's the only way they can explain to their restive publics, whose economies are collapsing all around them, as to why they're giving even more money to defense. And they need a threat, and they need a viable, big bugaboo threat in their face. They're making Russia that threat. EU's helping them so that they can get this money.
And describe this threat that you're speaking of.
Well, the threat they're saying is that Russia's going to attack NATO. It's going to attack them. It's going to attack Poland tomorrow.
They do say that by 2029, Russia is going to attack Germany or whatever. We need army. Yeah. Oh shit! Now I understand that shit. Fuck. Now I understand. We were just watching the 2025 recap, and it was about German military being mandatory again. It was about German military being mandatory again. Like, do you? Is it like obvious what I'm trying to get at? Like with this Rheinmetall stuff that he just said, that Germany is trying to produce more weapons. Germany also sells weapons. Like we produce and sell weapons. Yes. And Rheinmetall wants to, like, they all want to, like, every company is talking about, like, going like that. We need to, like, go like that. I guess the weapons company should be like, yo, we want to go like that. That's how the weapons company should actually be acting. Same as the police, like, we want to stay here and do nothing. That's how they should be thinking. Instead, what they're thinking is, I want to go out and I want to discriminate against foreigners or other looking people. But German military being mandatory again, that he's not wrong.
All right, what they're saying is that Russia's going to attack NATO. It's going to attack them. It's going to attack Poland tomorrow, Estonia.
And he says it's all for Rheinmetall. It's all because of Rheinmetall. Damn. Because because German industry is struggling. And we're thinking about shits, man. It's going to shits, man. There's going to be World War, dude. It's going to fucking shits, man. Like, you don't actually ever help anyone in warfare, dude. You help people talk to each other.
Next week, it's going to attack the whole alliance, which Putin has been very careful, as has his foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, in denouncing. He does not want a war with NATO. He knows where a war with NATO would lead. It would lead to nuclear weapons. So he doesn't want it. All he wants is for them to quit funding Ukraine's war and quit supporting them altogether so that the war can come to an end. And when Donald Trump gets up and says they're still killing people, or Macron or Merz or Storm or any of those do that, yes, Russia has no choice but to keep killing people because you won't stop the war, people. A war you started. You started.
What do you mean you started? Russia didn't start the war, did they?
I started a special military operation. That's a very important term to remember. He doesn't consider it a war. He started the SMO in order to prevent the United States and, to a lesser extent, NATO, from putting armaments in eastern Ukraine and making it the bulwark of their opposition to Russia close to their borders, in their near abroad. Look at what he's done. In order to pay us back in our own coin, he sent Admiral Gorshkov, a Kirov-class cruiser, and a nuclear-powered submarine to Havana in 2024. That negated the Monroe Doctrine. Now he's supporting Venezuela, significantly supporting Venezuela. That's a further refutation of the Monroe Doctrine. But what Putin is doing is saying, you did it in my near abroad? Watch how you like it when I do it in your near abroad. So look for more Russian subs, more Russian jets, more Russian ships, more Russian missiles going to Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela in the future, because he's going to pay us back in our own coin.
I mean, not everyone he says probably makes sense, man. Not everyone he says is good or truth, man. It's just a podcast type thing. How does he know his information? Where does he get his information from? Where's your source? Where's your sources? And, you know? I mean, yes, like Rheinmetall, he says it's over, but like, what is Rheinmetall wanting to produce more weapons and saying everyone like this war is horrible and ongoing, and we need to like run up the military and we need to produce more weapons. What has that got to do with it's over and Europe doesn't want to admit it? They're two different things. But I guess what he means by it's over is Russia got the oil fields. Russia got the oil fields. Gas and oil fields in the Black Sea. Why aren't they openly talking about it to us though? It's about the oil in the Black Sea. Why aren't they openly talking? Why did the Wikipedia article disappear? For example, there was a Wikipedia article about it was literally the actual Wikipedia article that should exist. Not like the 3-day military operation and the other stuff that's like official in the news, but that Wikipedia article that is about the gas conflict in the Black Sea and the Crimean region. Like, there was an article like that, and I didn't read the whole article, but that's why that war is ongoing, because there's gas there. And I guess our news doesn't want to say that, because our news is owned by the people who want that gas, which is the Zionists. It's the Jewish, when they own the media still. They own all media. I'm afraid, man. I'm afraid talking right now. Nah, but what did I just say? What did I just say? I keep losing my thought. They're not reporting on the gas conflict in the news because they want that gas, and that's why they want Ukraine in NATO, and that's why they want to put soldiers in Ukraine to protect the gas against Putin. Like, who's gonna like sell and distribute that thing? Right. Yeah, who's gonna sell and distribute that thing? And it was gonna be NATO apparently, and Putin didn't like that. Ukraine is not gonna sell and distribute that gas, are they? Like, there's so much infrastructure of like Russia selling gas. Why would Ukraine? They would have to like build extra infrastructure and shit. NATO is Mossad, I think.
So can you clarify or just very briefly go over what the Monroe Doctrine is for people who don't know, and also what the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine is?
Well, it was really a ridiculous pronouncement to Europe, whose empires, fledgling or dying that they were messing around in the Western Hemisphere, that they shouldn't do that. It's our domain. Do not come into the Western Hemisphere, especially do not come into the Caribbean. Do not come anywhere near it, because that's our domain. Did we enforce it religiously? From time to time, people did. I mean, the most glaring one was when Khrushchev came into Cuba and tried to put nuclear-tipped missiles in Cuba. There was the Monroe corollary to the doctrine, and then there was a Reagan statement about the doctrine that was fairly forceful. But it's a big ocean. It's a big several oceans. And so it's almost impossible to enforce, but it was reasonably accepted by Europe in particular, and by the other, at the time, empires in the world. So that was sacrosanct for us. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense now, but if it's the Gulf of America, maybe it makes some sense. It's not enforceable. It simply is not enforceable, and Putin's proving it. And the exchange is very, very interesting to understand, because what Putin told us, essentially, in 2005, when I was still at the State Department, and what Lavrov told Powell, what others told Powell, what Putin wound up telling everybody that he could get to listen, was that Ukraine represented a threat to the CSTO, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the most important power of which is Russia. It's NATO equivalent, if you will. And Ukraine was the last stop. I mean, you know, we were expanding NATO right up to Russia's border. And he said, stop, stop, stop. Several times he said, stop. Well, Ukraine was it. He was not going to take Ukraine with U.S. forces in the eastern portion of Ukraine that could hit Moscow with nuclear weapons. He wasn't going to take U.S. forces there, period. And if it were a member of NATO, it would have U.S. forces there. And no one paid any attention. And if it were a member, he wasn't going to take U.S. forces there, period. And if it were a member of NATO, it would have U.S. forces there. And no one there, period. And if it were a member of NATO, it would have U.S. forces there. And no one paid any attention to it. Angela Merkel actually said, you know what we did in 2014 with the Minsk agreement? We actually lied.
Right.
She didn't use the lie word, but she said we were gaining time for Ukraine to get stronger and more powerful and to be able to take Russia on and to threaten Russia. And Putin said powerful, the lie word, but we actually lied.
Right.
She didn't use the lie word, but she said we were gaining time for Ukraine to get stronger and more powerful and to be able to take Russia on and to threaten Russia. And Putin said enough when he launched the special military operation. Actually said, you know what we did in U.S. forces there, period. And if it were a member of NATO, it would have U.S. forces there. And no one paid any attention to it. Angela Merkel actually said, you know what we did in 2014 with the Minsk agreement? We actually lied.
Right.
She didn't use the lie word, but she said we were gaining time for Ukraine to get stronger and more powerful and to be able to take Russia on and to threaten Russia. And Putin said enough when he launched the special military operation. And he's been pursuing it ever since with some bludgeoning unease and not too much tactical prowess in the beginning. But he's battle hardened now. His army is battle hardened. His defense industrial base is doing fine. Thank you very much. Second only probably to China's. China's is number one. Russia's is number two. Notice I didn't put the United States in there. And Russia is very hardened now. His army is battle hardened. His defense industrial base is doing fine. Thank you very much. Second only probably to China's. China's is number one. Russia's is number two. Notice I didn't put the United States in there.
Was he saying like you need to be in war to have a good military? Like we haven't been in war for too long for us to have a good military. Is that what he's saying? He could be right.
And we're at a point now where a self-fulfilling prophecy on the part of the Europeans about Putin being willing to take on NATO could blossom. It's about Putin being a self-fulfilling prophecy on the part of the Europeans about Putin being willing to take on NATO could Europeans about Putin being a self-fulfilling prophecy on the part of the Europeans about Putin being willing to take on NATO could blossom because war has a dynamic all of its own, and it'll pick up and pick up and pick up, and Putin has to push his way all the way to the western borders of Ukraine, to the Polish border and so forth. Then that's a different dynamic. You've created your own Hitler, if you will. You've let him do what he did, and you've whetted his appetite, and you've battle hardened his forces. That's really stupid. But as I said, what they're doing it for, I think this Lord is right. Skidelsky's his name. I think they're doing it because they know their economies are collapsing, especially Germany's, and they see the only way to rebuild them is through defense spending. And then that money spent in their economy will reinvigorate their economy.
Yeah, man. Germany is struggling. That's why they come here, bro. Like, they see a tiny little bit of anything here, they come here, they steal it. Dude, I couldn't describe it any more precisely. That's exactly what happened. They saw me spending money on like steak, sushi, bro. They don't like that. They themselves can't have sushi, bro. Me having sushi, them seeing me have sushi, they're gonna come here and take my stuff, all that stuff, every stuff. And if I'm not licking their ass for it, and if I'm not sucking their dick for it, they're gonna punish me too, man. Like, you're not being left alone. It's not a democracy. No one cares about you. Like, you need to befriend someone who's powerful. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
That's exactly what Hitler did. If you remember, Hitler was even during the years when he didn't want anybody to know what he was doing, he was actually building battalions, building brigades, building divisions in the Soviet Union. He was using facilities in the Soviet Union to train his troops and his units outside the confines of the agreements at Versailles. So Germany rebuilt a lot of its war machine in Russia.
So, but do you think that there's any kind of comparable ideology, genocidal ideology?
That's interesting.
Or expansionism that we could see? Because, you know, the irony is that, and I'm sure you are critical of this, people love to compare Putin to Hitler, which is totally ahistorical, which, I mean, as you can explain. But how far can you take this parallel between what's happening now and what happened with Hitler?
Well, we've seen a very vivid representation of a similarity between Spain and the Civil War there, where Hitler tested everything, and Ukraine,
like Guernica.
Where essentially the French, the Germans, and the British are talking about testing everything for fighting Russia.
Right.
And that's really what they were supporting Ukraine for in the first place. They thought,
a proxy war again, a proxy war.
They thought through that proxy war they could bleed Russia and really probably bring Putin down. That's what they thought. That was their initial strategic thought. But that's not happened. In fact, they've magnified him, made him stronger, made him more powerful, made Russia more powerful, and most foreboding of all, forced him in a tacit alliance with the number one economy in the world, China.
Right.
And let's just pause there for a second. With the number more powerful and most foreboding of all, forced him in a tacit alliance with the number one economy in the world, China.
Right.
And let's just pause there for a second. There is no argument in any real economist's mind today that China is the number one economy in the world. Not America, China. So we pushed them together, and just to make it really testy, we invited India to join. So now you get these three huge powers out there, two of them probably as powerful as anybody else in the world, particularly 6,000 nuclear warheads in Moscow, and they're together. This is utter strategic insanity, and the Europeans and NATO and America have done it.
Patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. It's kind of interesting. The episode was fun. US Army coming on. Do we watch the next call thing? Oops. John Mearsheimer. Mearsheimer, I think this guy is big. We got Mearsheimer over? Mearsheimer? Israel can't win this anymore. Damn. I think we like Mearsheimer.
I often tell people that I was born in 1947. I grew up reading Leon Uris's famous book, Exodus, which portrayed the Arabs as dirty.
Commissioned, by the way, precisely as a
portrayed the Arabs as dirty.
Commissioned, by the way,
what did she
precisely say? As a propaganda piece.
It's a brilliant piece of propaganda. And of
Yeah.
course, there was a very famous movie that was made.
I mean, brilliant is not the word I would use, man. He's trying to like act smart here. Like, I'm gonna say brilliant because propaganda is a bad thing, and if it's brilliant propaganda, it's a very bad thing. But you don't use the word brilliant propaganda, bro, because it's a dirty art form.
With Paul Newman and even saying the picture that I had in my head, and virtually all my friends had in their heads about the Arabs, as they were called, or the Palestinians, was a categorically negative one. I actually.
I'm not sure, man. I'm bored already. No, not the episode. I don't think. All right, we're watching. Okay, man.
I think that with the passage of time, that has changed drastically. Not 100%, but it's changed drastically. And it started, in my opinion, with the new historians in Israel in the late 80s, early 90s. And then it was like a snowball going down the hill at universities over the course of the 90s and most of the 21st century. Teachers have taught a story that is, or professors have taught a story that's completely at odds with the story that I was brought up on. And I think if you look at people in the body politic today, especially among the educated classes, there's just a great deal of sympathy for the Palestinians. I don't think that that people have a picture in their head of Arabs or Palestinians or Muslims that equates with the picture that people like me or most Americans had in their heads in the early 1950s or even early 1960s. I think that we have made progress. And my final point on this is I think the reason that the Israelis are going to such enormous lengths with their Hasbara efforts is because they understand what I'm saying. And what they're trying to do is reverse the tide. My argument is you can't.
Damn. Okay, that's powerful stuff, man. All right, man. Just in the beginning, I was like trying to like guess, is he like a drinking person?
Reverse the tide. You know, the cat's out of the bag, as my mother used to say, right? Everybody now knows. You talk to my kids, they basically know the story. The stories that they grew up with about Arabs and Palestinians versus Israelis is just fundamentally different. If you look at what the Israelis have been doing for the past 2 years and how public it's been, it's made the Israelis look like the bad guys. The Israelis look like Goliath. It's the Palestinians who look like David. That's another whole dimension to the story. So I think you don't want to underestimate the extent to which the rhetoric or the discourse has changed. The problem is the policy's not changed, as we were talking about before, which I find incredibly frustrating.
I mean, I do agree. There's definitely been a shift. I've lived through a couple major shifts as well in opinion that Israel was ultimately able to overcome. In the 80s, if you recall, public opinion began to turn against Israel, particularly with the invasion of Beirut. I think Ronald Reagan called it a Holocaust.
Yeah.
The
Beirut, where's that at again? Beirut, like Israel invaded Beirut, did they? Lebanon, yeah, okay, yeah, of course.
began to turn against Israel, particularly with the invasion of Beirut. I think Ronald Reagan called it a Holocaust.
Yeah.
The Sabra and Shatila massacres caused massive outrage. And of course, Israel had all kinds of ways to overcome through various media, investing in PR campaigns. I mean, that has always worked for them. And then during the second Intifada, I mean, the first Intifada, through, and of course, Israel had all kinds of ways to overcome through various media, investing in PR campaigns. I mean, that has always worked for them. And then during the second Intifada, the first Intifada, sorry, if you remember, I lived in Palestine at the time. I was in Jerusalem. Opinions around the world shifted, and I think that's really what actually drove Israel to the Madrid conference. Really, what actually drove Israel to the Madrid conference and then ultimately the Oslo Accords. It was precisely because to quell the threat of losing the narrative. Not because we were, the Palestinians themselves were not a threat to Israel. I mean, at most, people were kids with rocks. And so we were not a military threat in the way that Egypt was in 73. But again, Israel they just dumped a lot of money into PR campaigns and they recovered quite easily. I know things are a little bit different now because of the access to information and the dissolution of the traditional gatekeepers of information and knowledge, but they're even getting a chokehold on that. I mean, imagine, just since the 2000s, they completely infiltrated Wikipedia and manipulated the content of Wikipedia, and they boast about it. I mean, this is common knowledge. They boast about basically writing the narratives in Wikipedia. And now they're talking about retraining AI, especially ChatGPT and Grok, to produce a pro-Israel bias in their answers. And I've actually been testing.
And they bought off TikTok or whatever. They bought TikTok, so they made some purchase in TikTok. So well, I guess for propaganda reasons, PR they call it. PR.
It since I started reading about that, and it's true. There is kind of a change in the AI's brain, for lack of a better term. And now you have the Ellisons. Basically owning the last major platform of social media, and they're already removing pro-Palestinian content. They're pushing Israeli narratives. The older generations die, and you have this new generations that come up, and all they're getting fed is pro-Israel garbage. And so
Dude, I've been fed pro-Israel garbage. I have been fed pro-Israel garbage, and I believed it.
That's what worries me. And so I'm really interested in your perspective about, when you say the cat's out of the bag. And is it really? And what does that mean?
Well, we'll see what they're able to do. I don't think they can completely shut down the discourse. And I think there will be pushback here. I think they will be exposed. Just to talk a little bit about how the lobby operates, when Steve Walt and I wrote the book, this goes back to 2007. And of course, we wrote the original article the year before in 2006. Very few people knew much about the lobby at all. And many of our friends said that we overestimated its influence, when in fact, all we were telling was the tip of the iceberg, right? We didn't overestimate their influence. But not many people knew about the lobby. What's happened is that the lobby has had to come out into the open, and it's been forced to play smash mouth politics. And with regard to TikTok, almost everybody knows that the reason TikTok has been bought by Larry Ellison is because he's pro-Israel and they want to change the content.
I don't understand. Isn't China a rich country? And isn't TikTok owned by China? So how did some guy purchase TikTok off China? That's what I don't understand. It's a Chinese company. Isn't the code even written in commented in Chinese? I don't understand.
On TikTok, it's not like this is a great secret. See, I would argue back is because he's pro-Israel and they want to change the content on TikTok. It's not like this is a great secret. See, I would argue back in the 1990s, early 2000s, they would do something like this and hardly anybody would know it.
That's why all the youth in Israel is like, why schools out in Gaza? Because all the children are dead. Like they're singing songs and they're enjoying it, they're laughing, bro, because of Israel's PR, I guess, propaganda. Yeah.
Anything about it, and they would get away with it. But now people know what's going on. Just look at all the people turning out in the streets in places like Italy, places like Amsterdam. Lots of people are fully onto what's going on here. And this is true in the United States with the Charlie Kirks of the world, the Tucker Carlsons, and the Megyn Kellys, and the Steve Bannons, and so forth and so on. And this is not going to go away because the Israelis are going to have to continue to play smash mouth politics. And that's going to involve forcing the United States to do things that people on the right and people on the left don't like at all. Now, you're basically saying, Susan, and I don't want to say you're wrong, and I'm certainly hoping you're wrong, but I don't think they can shut down the discourse. I don't think they can put the cat back in the bag. This is just not to say they won't try, but at this point...
Damn. That's interesting. Dude, I'm glad I fucking tuned in to this Katie Harper thing now.
It's just very hard to do that given social media.
I think that the
point, it's just big. This is just not to say they won't try, but at this point, it's just very hard to do that given social media.
I think that the danger is that it'll just take too long for the policy to be realized. In other words, there's the shift in public consciousness, and I guess I think I'm probably closer in some ways to your position, John, in terms of my hope for the tide. But I do worry that it's too slow. I mean, how many people are going to die in the meantime? And that's just an overwhelmingly horrifying and terrifying thing to think about. But of course, you can't give up hope because that's not an option either.
I have to say the Republican.
I'll watch this. Just damn, I'm hungry, man. I need to get some more food going. No food here, right?
Coalition is fragmenting. It's losing people. You've seen Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of leave. Whoever thought she would leave the
Right.
MAC group. But I think it's having trouble right now. And it's having real trouble with Johnson in the House not being able to control what's happening and professing that he is, and Thune in the Senate not being very concerned with him. And so we're seeing some tension develop across the aisle right now. in terms of Senate, House, and even between some Republicans who don't like what's happening, particularly this business that's going to start up in January, where Americans are going to have to pay a ton more and therefore can't pay for their health care. In Alabama, for example, right now, the bastion, I don't know if you saw John Mearsheimer's piece on Alabama, the bastion of MAGA, 60 to 65% of the people are really expressing their displeasure with this move on healthcare. Other things, other things too, but the healthcare move has really got them going because it's a huge bill for even Alabama to pay these new rates that they're going to have to pay. They probably won't. They'll just abandon their insurance, and that's a bad situation too, of course. So I think what I would tell him right now is if I was king for a day, say I was national security advisor, the first thing I'd do is I'd go in and say, you have no national security decision-making process. Look, I'm an expert on it. I taught it for 16 years. Let me tell you what you need. First, you need a national security advisor who's worth a damn. Second, you need a national security council that's worth a damn. Third, you need a deputies committee, a principals committee, and interagency working groups throughout the cabinet structure that do things to produce for you, well informed by intelligence, real intelligence, not this crap you're getting from Mossad, real intelligence, so you can make good decisions. You don't do any of this, Donald. None of it. Well, why do you think the process is there? Why do you think the Congress and the executive branch put their heads together and designed the 1947 National Security Act, and every president since has refined it and refined it and refined it so that now it does produce pretty good decisions, particularly on national security. You can even do economics. You can do other things with it too, but particularly on national security. You do not have a process, Mr. President. You're particularly on national security. You can even do economics. You can do other things with it too, but particularly on national security. You do not have a process, Mr. President. Your process is your big fat lips. I'm sorry. It's not working. You're making disastrous decisions.
And you actually said that you think Donald Trump is afraid of Marco Rubio.
I think so. I think Tucker Carlson was right when he told him, don't pick him to be your vice presidential candidate, because if you do, they'll assassinate you. And he told him, don't pick him to be your vice presidential candidate, because if you do, they'll assassinate you. Because certain of those billionaires in the shadows behind the curtains, and certain of the neoconservatives arrayed around him would love to have Marco Rubio as president, because then they know the killing would really start.
Wow. Okay. So that's your...
And certain of the neoconservatives arrayed around him would love to have Marco Rubio as president, because then they know the killing would really start.
Wow. Okay. So that's your opinion of his Secretary of State. What is your opinion of Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense?
He's probably very short-lived right now, because I think they just threw him under the bus. And, well, they should have thrown him under the bus even earlier. I said when he first came in, he wouldn't last a year. I stick by that. But I didn't even think he'd last as long as he has, because he is, let's compare it to the military, which I know most about. He's like a lieutenant running an entire largest not-for-profit institution on the face of the earth, which uses as much petroleum products, for example, as Portugal. It's 55th on the list of 190, for example, as Portugal, face of the earth, which uses as much petroleum products, for example, as Portugal. Uses the largest not-for-profit institution on the face of the earth, which uses as largest not-for-profit institution on the face, an entire largest not-for-profit institution on the face of the earth, which uses as much petroleum products, for example, as Portugal. It's 55th on the list of 190 nations. Portugal is 54.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Most about. Let's compare it to he has, because he is, let's compare it to the military, which I know most about. He's like a lieutenant running an entire largest not-for-profit institution on the face of the earth, which uses as much petroleum products, for example, as Portugal. It's 55th on the list of 190 nations. Portugal is 54. This is a huge, and what's it getting now? It's getting $1 trillion. And what the National Security Instrument is getting is almost $2 trillion. That and what's it getting now? It's getting $1 trillion. And what the National Security Instrument is getting is almost $2 trillion. That includes nuclear weapons, intelligence, veterans affairs, and everything else, Homeland Security, almost $2 trillion. Our interest payments on our debt are $1 trillion, soon to be $2 trillion annually.
To who? Debt? What debt? What debt? I don't understand that. Who is the U.S. in debt to? To the Jewish, is it? Are they in debt to the Jewish? Because that would make sense. That's been like that, dude. The Kings has been in debt to the Jewish since always.
How in the world are we going to pay that?
To the Jewish, right? Like, the U.S. is in debt to who?
Wow. You...
I suppose to the Jewish, dude.
I heard you talking about Pete Hegseth, and you basically think he's a Christian nationalist.
Yes, very much so. We have prayer meetings in the Pentagon now, and the Secretary of Defense has the gall to say to the press, for example, that I'm not coercing them to go. The Secretary of Defense has a prayer meeting with the Bible, which he officiates, or his pastor, for example, that I'm not coercing them to go. The Secretary of Defense has a prayer meeting with the Bible, which he officiates, or his pastor officiates at, and that's not coercion. Now, is there someone at the door keeping a list of those who don't come? You bet there is, just like there is throughout the military now. We have this sort of thing happening blatantly throughout the military now. We just had a huge episode at the Air Force Academy where they were actually, the Jewish students were actually told they could not celebrate Hanukkah, that they had to celebrate Christmas, and didn't they know that Christmas was more important than Hanukkah? I mean, we have things like this happening every day in the military.
These people who claim to be such friends of the Jews did that?
Well, they're friends of the Jews until it comes to the Christian nationalist aspect of them.
Right.
Unless they're Christian Zionist nationalists too. There are lots of them that aren't friends of the Jews.
Right. Yeah. Apparently they want us to go back in quotes to Israel, where I think all of us, except for like 400 people who get a get out of jail free card, burned for eternal damnation.
Yeah.
People.
There are lots of them that aren't friends of the Jews.
Right. Yeah. Apparently they want us to go back in quotes to Israel, where I think all of us, except for like 400 people who get out of jail free card. Israel, where I think all of us, except for like 400 people who get a get out of jail free card, burned for eternal damnation. 400 back in quotes to Israel, where I think all of us, except for like 400 people who get a get out of jail free card, burned for eternal damnation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a great preacher out right now, a young man. I watched him the other day. I wish he'd get on national TV or something. He's talking about the Old Testament and the New Testament. You know, the Old Testament where Ted Cruz gets his national security advice, and the New Testament where Christ comes. He bills it this way. The New Testament.
What did you say? Old Testament where Ted Cruz gets his tax advice?
Ladies and gentlemen, was a complete. He bills it this national security advice, and the New Testament where Christ comes. He bills it this way. The New Testament, ladies and gentlemen, was a complete repudiation of the Old Testament. You know, Jesus came to repudiate the Old Testament and the God in the Old Testament. That's not it anymore. The Sermon on the Mount, turning the other cheek, kindness, love, all this. That's Jesus's message, not what you're delivering. What you're delivering, you've raked up out of the coals of the Old Testament. He's got something going for him. My wife used to talk about this. She was a Catholic, but I shouldn't say but. She was a very, very good Catholic. And she used to say, I just don't understand these people whom you call Christian nationalists, referring to me, because they're not Christians. They're not Christians. They're not Christians that I've ever met anyway. I mean,
Right.
they're not Jesus's followers,
Right.
not the Jesus I know.
Right. Yeah, they love to say that they follow Jesus, and then they totally violate the principles of Christianity.
Absolutely. They pick and choose what they want, and there's
Right.
not a whole lot to pick that they want out of Jesus. So they go back to the Old Testament, like Ted
Right.
Cruz. I get my guidance from Genesis.
Wow. I don't know how I missed that story about not being able to celebrate Hanukkah. That is the epitome of the quote unquote Jewish support that we get. I mean, I'm Jewish and I'm not an Israel supporter. I support Palestine, and I think Israel is a threat to the entire world, and ironically also to Jewish people. But that is, like, in a nutshell, how they care about quote unquote Jews. They just care about Israel, and they don't actually care about religious freedom or even tolerance. I mean, the fact that they won't let them celebrate Hanukkah, and they don't actually care about religious freedom or even tolerance. I mean, the fact that they won't let them celebrate Hanukkah is just, it's rich, you know.
We even had one commander. We had a complaint, a formal complaint made to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and he quoted what the commander had told him, and he had his history even backwards. He said, "Don't you understand that Jesus predates Hanukkah?"
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's embarrassing.
Jesus predates Hanukkah backwards. He said, "Don't you understand that Jesus even backwards?" And he quoted what the commander a formal complaint made to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and he quoted what the commander had told him, and he had his history even backwards. He said, "Don't you understand that Jesus predates Hanukkah?"
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's embarrassing.
Damn, that guy's lonely, man. This colonel, he lost his wife apparently. Start talking about his wife, dude. How's the colonel? How's the? You call him colonel? Colonel? Like in movies, it's called colonel, which is kind of like what Linux is doing, you know? So that's also a kernel. Okay.
What happens if we go to war with China?
We get beat. We get beaten badly. And here's the scenario. I played this war game a number of
We get beat. We get beat, bro. Alright, man, let's watch that one after one song or whatever.
How about a Benz, baby? I feel like God, like. Take us a drink right now and pouring it over my niggas. We ain't never turned down. I'm a big dipper. Big tipper. You want it, you buy it, you get it. Cash on the liver. Rose on my liver. Headshots for my enemy. Still got a money machine clicking. You know how I kick it, hey. Leaving a witness gon' see you in the penitentiary. Wait, he get it, she get it, they get it too. Lay on you, spray on you, hop in the coupe. You didn't know about Melon World till I introduce you. You can be sober as fuck, cause money is gon' seduce you. My hustle is gon' seduce you. My vibe ain't none of these niggas compared to me. No, none of these niggas compare to me. Most of these niggas are fans of me. I really appreciate it. I really do. Majority of these bitches ain't loyal, they all done been ran through. I stay at it, get at it, work on it, count up and count up and count up. Maybe I sit back and lay back and flick through the channels. I flick through the channel, I'm watching the streets and they know I'm the Xander. I'm seeing the animosity, the rises, I see it in. I got some homies that just got out, some ones that just went in. The deeper the ocean, the deeper the pain. Blow out the brain, split through the veins.
Yeah. I'm just doing what I'm taught. I am. Move like a boss. This is my city. You niggas can't give me this mission abort. Look, ayy, Bobby, floss. I need that money endorsed. Shooter, toss. Niggas get shot trying to go to court. As soon as I step in it, I'm repping it. Head nods, no handshakes. I ain't trying to get affectionate. I be with the niggas I know gon' ride most definite. I make a mistake, I'm correcting it. Bobby, perfectionist. When I feel like it's game time, I get a game plan. Niggas will give you with that to shoot at your back the same hand. Look, I been at the grimiest places, the grimiest niggas don't phase him. I'm well in tune with the mayhem, but I still walked out a great man. It's a mind game, I mind bend. I play with your mind like a violin. Different places they can find him. I make calls and I dial in. He keep a shooter beside him. Yeah. A shooter beside him. I'm just doing what I'm taught. I am. Move like a boss. This is my city. You niggas can't give me this mission abort. Look, ayy, Bobby, floss. I need that money endorsed. Shooter, toss. Niggas get shot trying to go to court. As soon as I step in it, I'm repping it. Head nods, no handshakes. I ain't trying to get affectionate. I be with the niggas I know gon' ride most definite. I make a mistake, I'm correcting it. Bobby, perfectionist. I'm more like a boss. I'm never taking a loss. I got that splash sauce. I'm in that horse, a Porsche, of course. I'm off the Hennessy. Please don't fuck with my energy. I pray I don't see an enemy. Woosah, serenity. Counting this money forever. Infinity. 100 choppers with 100 legs. Centipede. Designer on me. Fly shit only. Kennedy. They know who I am, identity. See I pow, history. I'm just doing what I'm taught. I am. Move like a boss. This is my city. You niggas can't give me this mission abort. Look, ayy, Bobby, floss. I need that money endorsed. Shooter, toss. Niggas get shot trying to go to court. As soon as I step in it, I'm repping it. Head nods, no handshakes. I ain't trying to get affectionate. I be with the niggas I know gon' ride most definite. I make a mistake, I'm correcting it.
Bobby, perfectionist.
Peasant out Pluto, peasant out Pluto.
Lot of shit, you ain't gotta fall back. Red bottom for my red beats, cause I ass fat. Shot ain't fuck with a slamming nigga, bitch, I been that. I done lost it all, I got it back, bitch, I mean that. I done lost it all, I swear to God, had a man store. Had a band door, nigga, I was fucked up. Walk in, walk out with the Drake, get some sneak up, yo. I just made a play at Starbucks, yo. Shot out that easy. DJ Mo be dominate 50. Yeah, this shit can get slimy, sticky. Yeah, this shit can get slimy, sticky. Nigga falling out in my city, I had to fall back. Bitch, I got the chop in the club, I burn your
Neighbors are sleeping, man. Alright, which one's the next? The Colonel, isn't it?
Times. The scenario is we go to war over Taiwan, over the South China Sea, over attacks on the Philippines, whatever the reason. Over Taiwan, over the South China Sea, over attacks on the Philippines, whatever.
Over attacks on the Philippines.
Whatever the reason is, we go to war and we attrit each other, Air Force and Navy, whatever the reason is, we go to war and we attrit each other, Air Force and Navy, about a third to a half. In other words, we shoot down about half of China's Air Force, sink about half of their Navy, and they do the same to us. And then you're sitting there looking at each other, heavily attrited, many casualties, one aircraft carriers, 5,000 dead Americans. They'll take 3 or 4 aircraft carriers. And we're 5,000 dead Americans. They'll take 3 or 4 aircraft carriers. And we're sitting there looking, and we can't go ashore because only a fool would go into 12 million men mobilized on a landmass like China with what we have. And they can't come out and get us because their fleet's been attrited, their Air Force has been attrited, and all they can do probably is defend the South China Sea. So what do? I've been there. The war games go like this. Let's nuke Shanghai, then they'll get the message. Let's nuke Beijing, then they'll really get the message. And on the red team side, they're saying, well, let's nuke that Navy out there just beyond the -9 line.
That's okay.
Or let's nuke Japan, or let's nuke the Philippines or South Korea or whatever. And then the civilian leaders of the games, whether you're doing it at Naval War College or wherever, say, no, we're not going there. But that's where you come down to in a conventional fight. And what scares me, really scares me, is the American people haven't seen these kind of headlines above the fold right side of the Washington Post or the New York Times in their lives. In generations, we haven't seen these headlines. It's going to be 10,000 Americans killed on Monday, 20,000 killed on Tuesday, 8,000 killed on Wednesday. Those are going to be the casualty figures that flow in from this war with China.
Well, that's kind of a scary prospect. What should Trump be doing? If you were advising Donald Trump, what would you tell him to do?
Step down.
Can you expand on this?
Immediately step down and take your vice president with you. That isn't going to work. Although Congressman Green has, I understand, started impeachment proceedings in the House again.
Right.
Won't go anywhere probably.
So one of the things that you said, and this relates to what we're talking about with China, is that even what Donald Trump is doing in Venezuela is actually China policy disguised as Monroe Doctrine. So it's for the domestic audience, as you said during an interview. He's telling the domestic audience that this is about, U.S. power and dominating basically our backyard or front yard. U.S. power, as you said during an interview. He's telling the domestic audience that this is about, U.S. power and dominating basically our backyard or front yard, depending on whether you're a Trumpite. He's telling the domestic audience that this is about, U.S. power and dominating basically our backyard or front yard, depending on whether you're a Trumpite or a Bidenist. But really, this is about China. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it's so much about it that it's got enormous three-dimensional capacity to it. First of all, there's 300 billion barrels of oil in Venezuela, proven reserves. That's necessary for us to get our hands on, at least nominally, if not actually. And Trump seems to be bent on actually getting his hands on it in order to offset this very dangerous move in the world right now that 60% of the world is aiming its instincts at, and that is to denominate oil sales globally in other than the dollar. That will send our debt through the roof. Our credit rating will go through the floor, and we will be very, very hard pressed, if it's even possible, to pay the $1 to $2 trillion interest payments on our annual debt. So that's the first thing. He wants to get that 300 billion because then that gives him enough assets to counter this with, possibly. The second thing he wants to do is
who are they in debt to? To the Jewish. And what will the Jewish do if the US can't pay anymore? They will just leave and build the empire somewhere else. Like, wherever the Jews is where the wealth is. Yeah. There's the jazz, there's going to be the Hollywoods. Wherever the Jews is, there's going to be the wealth. So if US can't pay, where are the Jews gonna go? Germany doesn't want them either, I don't think, man. I'm kidding. Am I though? Like, dude, it's a different kind of Jews. I'm talking about the Jewish Illuminati, obviously, as I always am, bro. Like the Rothschild family type shit. the people who the world is in debt to, because the world is in debt. How do I know that? I know that Germany is in debt. I know that Europe is in debt. They keep saying that on the news. This guy told me the US is in debt. But who are we in debt to? To the Martians? To the Jewish? It's their own state. Always has been. To Israel. But another Israel though. Not to this Israel in Palestine. No, we're not in debt to them. This Israel in Palestine is not Israel. Let's call that one, I don't know what we call that one. What do we call that one? We call that one, I don't know. We call it ball. Let's call it ball. I was gonna say jack or something. Let's call it ball. That's ball, okay? That thing in Palestine over there, that's ball. That's not Israel. Israel is a fictional Jewish state. Like it's the state of all Jews. That's what Israel is in the Torah or whatever. And I guess the world is in debt to Israel, isn't it? But what Israel gonna do, or where is Israel gonna go if the US can't pay anymore? Because I want the US to not be able to pay anymore and be okay with it. Like you can't when, dude, like that's what like strong and like wealthy or like I don't know, like that's what strong people do whenever they like get one tiny little thing taken away, like even the tiniest of things, that's not acceptable to them. Like no, I'm not losing my wealth. Like there's gonna be prices to pay and things done and people be sad and mad, but me, I'm not losing my wealth. And that's what the US is doing. Like I'm not losing my fucking wealth, man. I'm not. Like some Venezuelans may die, like some people may be mad at me, but I'm not fucking giving away my fucking wealth, man. I don't give a fuck how poor you are. I'm not giving my wealth away.
We're saying China is doing more trade with every nation in South America than the United States of America. China is dominating trade in South America. So you're right. He wants to force China, however he has to do it, out of South America. Not just Venezuela, but also Ecuador, Uruguay, the other countries in South America. Principally now, I think Brazil. Marco Rubio has got his laser eye, which is only a Latin American eye. He's not doing anything else. He doesn't go to Russia. He doesn't go to Israel. He is the anti-South America guy in the administration, and he's well equipped for it because he hates it. He hates the whole place. He hates Cuba all the way down to the tip of Tierra del Fuego. He wants it all to go to the United States. So he's got that, and he's been down there trying to talk to South American leaders who are what you might call rightist. I mean, in the lexicon of South American leaders, they're not looking for socialism. They're as in Buenos Aires, they're willing to deal with the World Bank. They're willing to deal with the FMF and so forth. He's down there trying to talk them into getting rid of Lula. He made a journey down to South America just to try to talk people into getting rid of Lula. When he went to Ecuador, he thought he had a good guy there, a rightist by the definition. And the Ecuadorian people had just voted on something that he had said he would do, allow U.S. troops on his soil. He held a referendum, and the Ecuadorian people voted, I think, by 63% not to allow it to happen. So he's run into a buzzsaw down there. And he's going to continue to run into a buzzsaw because China does a better job of recruiting these countries economically than we do. We want to do the old U.S. technique, go in, ally ourselves with the 5% of the richest people and screw the other 95%. Right. We got what we want. They got what they want. Everything's copacetic. No, China goes in. I'm not trying to say China is not a little bit on the negative side sometimes, but basically they go in for money reasons. And they go in and they do things for people. They build homes, they build roads, they build trains. Oh, by the way, they work too. Not always the case with us. And so they have captured the South American economic market. They really captured Brazil. Why did they capture Brazil so incredibly fast? Because Trump turned soybeans over to Brazil. He put tariffs on China to the point where, you know, China wouldn't buy our soybeans anymore, and had to bail our farmers out to the tune of 12 billion. We wouldn't buy our soybeans anymore, and had to bail our farmers to the point where, you know, China wouldn't buy our soybeans anymore, and had to bail our farmers out to the tune of 12 billion, which is minuscule. They need probably 50 or 60 billion because of what he did. All the soybeans going to China are now coming from Brazil, or most of them are. And then the third reason is because Trump wants this strategy
They're eating a lot of soybeans in China, are they? Damn. That's crazy. That's crazy. The US was producing soybeans for China. I kind of like that idea, dude.
got. To focus, Trump wants this strategy he's got to focus for domestic political reasons. This is what he told MAGA on the Western Hemisphere, on the domestic safety and security of America. That goes along with his domestic idea of putting troops in all the cities and everything too. What he's really doing, he's backing up, retrenching, divesting himself for the most part from Europe, which is what's scaring them to death. And he's saying, I'm doing this in the strategy. I'm doing this so I can husband my strength and then attack China. That's what he's saying. The focus is still on China in that strategy. It's just on it in an indirect fashion. And I'm sure Trump, were he here with us and he could speak intelligibly, he would say, well, yeah, but you know what I really want is to beat them economically. But I got to be in a good position to beat them militarily before Xi Jinping will let me work with him on an equal basis economically. But we're looking for war with China. That's what that strategy says ultimately. We're husbanding our resources so we can go to war with China. Fashion. And I'm sure Trump, were he here with us, and from Europe, which is what's scaring them to death. And he's saying, I'm doing this in the strategy. I'm doing this so I can husband my strength and then attack China. That's safety and security of America. That goes along with his domestic idea of putting troops in all the cities and everything too. What he's really doing, he's backing up, retrenching, divesting himself for the most part from Europe, which is what's scaring them to death. And he's saying, I'm doing this in the strategy. I'm doing this so I can husband my strength and then attack China. That's what he's saying. The focus is still on China in that strategy. It's just on it in an indirect fashion. And I'm sure Trump, were he here with us and he could speak intelligibly, he would say, well, yeah, but you know what I really want is to beat them economically. But I got to be in a good position to beat them militarily before Xi Jinping will let me work with him on an equal basis economically. But we're looking for war with China. That's what that strategy says ultimately. We're husbanding our resources so we can go to war with China.
Is it bedtime yet? I think it is.